Government liquor public meeting to order. Kathy, can I have a roll call, please?
Nemhoff.
Present.
Sullivan.
Here.
Kunkel.
Here.
Sauger.
Here.
Campbell. Shorten.
Here.
Altough.
Here. We have a quorum. We'll move forward. I'm assuming you all got an opportunity to look at the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Ms. Van Hoff, seconded by Mr. Sullivan. Any other comments, corrections? Seeing none, those who approve vote aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, the minutes have been approved. There is no public comment this morning. Add Ms. Campbell to the roll, please. Any member comments this morning? I think because my only comment to all of you is I think because this may be a longer than normal meeting. For questions after budget presentations, I think what I'll do is start on this side first and just kind of go around and ask if anybody has any questions. And then the next budget, I'll start on that side and go around. And that way, I don't have to be watching necessarily for hands going up, okay? Because I do believe that there may be some specific questions on some of these budgets. New business. We have no new liquor license, but we do have an appointment to the Emergency Telephone Service Bureau, the Deputy Chief Carmen Sacco, to replace the current Harvard chief. That is his wish. That is also the wish of the chairman. I'm going to assume that we're all going to confirm and recommend to the full county board that that's exactly where we need to go. This is typical when one individual retires, to allow that individual who's being promoted into that position then to reclaim the Emergency Telephone Service Bureau position. So, seeing no other discussion, can I have a motion to make that recommendation? Mr. Shorten, seconded by Mr. Kunkel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Excellent. We will make that recommendation to the full county board. Legislative update.
I'll keep this one brief. The month of August has been a rather slow one in the grand scheme of things, as both, the state and the federal levels have been out of session for the past month. However, some important things for you to keep on your radar. The governor did make his appointments to the NETA board. The list of all appointees are on the back of your report. Also, it does appear that there has been some movement regarding the billed legislation, in the background, the realtors or the Illinois Realtors and IML have put out their own recommendations of, what voluntary municipal participation in the program should look like. I linked to both in the report, and I'll just kind of leave it there unless you have any questions.
Can you also give an update on Congressman Foster meeting?
Yes, ma'am. Congressman Foster is going to be coming out to the city of Marengo tomorrow to meet with the MCDC and the county regarding economic development in the area. Chair Altough will be there representing as legislative chair. And again, we'll be sure to ask him about updates and what we can expect in the upcoming session this September, because again, budget for the federal government is supposed to be done by September 30th. It never is. But again, it'll be a good time to ask about different legislative priorities, from transportation reauthorization, Farm Bill, and the FEMA Act that I know we've all been watching, and NEOA as well. And of course, keep an eye on where our community project funding requests are too.
The only reason I am going is because Chairman Bueller has a conflict in his schedule. Otherwise, it would have been the chair who would have met with him. So he just asked if I couldn't do that on his behalf. Any other questions for Alicia on legislative updates? Mr. Sauger, would you like to talk about RTA?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd
yes,
like
please.
to kind of give a quick update. As most of you know, the RTA had its past meeting or its last meeting this month. And so now, as of September 1, it has switched dramatically now to the NETA board instead of the RTA board. That's the Northern Illinois Transit Authority. And as a result of that, then there are changes in terms of meeting schedules and that. There has been a huge effort over the last month, really, and it continues tomorrow and into the first part of September by a lot of meetings with regards to the transition itself. Transition Committee was appointed. I have the opportunity to serve on that committee on not only our behalf, but on the region's behalf, along with Tom Kotarek, who is a Cook County, a Chicago, City of Chicago appointment to the new NEDA board. Many of you might know Tom. He's very, very active in the broader community area. And as we move forward then, there's a lot of consideration in terms of the first meeting, which is going to be on September 10th, and the decisions that will be made there. The first thing is that each of the service boards, after that September meeting by the NEDA board, will be selecting their chairs. And frankly, right now, it appears, and I don't think I'm overstepping here at all, because it's pretty factual at this point, that Tom Kotarek is going to be the chair of the NEDA board, which pleases me to no end. He's a very enthusiastic young person, and just really, really interested in bringing everybody to the table and making sure that we are on the same page. In addition to that, the new, as Alicia indicated, the new governor's appointments have been made. We have recently received word that not only will we be talking about the chairs, but we will be talking about the NEDA executive director appointment on September 10th. So that is kind of moving forward relatively quickly. And in addition to that, I would also say that we're going to be starting right away at looking at priorities. And I did attend the first Metro Board meeting in August, and we are strongly representing and pushing McHenry County's priorities. And I think that there is a very solid, I would say, understanding that we better move pretty quickly on some of those types of things. So I'm thinking very positively in that regard, and so I just want to keep everybody abreast of that. And again, I apologize during the board meeting, but I do want to apologize again to other colleagues here that if I miss a meeting right now, it's kind of because there's another NEDA board meeting or RTA or Metro board meeting during this transition. So thank you.
What did I read recently about a commitment to the Woodstock Metro area, and then there was another McHenry County, oh, maybe it was Harvard. What can you kind of enlighten us on what basically is going on there, just to give us an update?
Yeah, there's really three priorities that are being pushed. So the first of them is the rail yard northwest of Woodstock, and there seems to be a willingness to move that forward in priorities. It had not been on the current 5-year plan. It was kind of on the 10-year plan for Metro, but I would honestly say to you that now that the NEDA board has oversight and authority with regards to capital priorities, we're trying very hard to move that forward, and I think even Metro folks are trying to move that forward so that we get it closer to the 5-year plan rather than the 10-year plan. So that's the one thing. With that is a dramatic interest in schedules and increasing schedules. The schedules that would be increased would be to Harvard, and we also would have increased schedules in Woodstock, which is the center part of the county, and would allow us to be able to move back and forth more quickly. There's still a lot of background noise. I have to be careful about what I say, but a lot of background noise with regards to Arlington Heights and what could possibly happen there, et cetera. And of course, that's in the back of everyone's mind as we look at schedules for the lines. There's an interest in increasing schedules on the McHenry line as well, the northern line. And so we're looking at those schedule increases. Kind of as a side, there also is a commitment with regards to pay service here in McHenry County, and looking at some additional circulator routes. And one of those is being forwarded right now with regards to Woodstock and McHenry and Crystal Lake, and we're excited about that. Another thing that they're looking at is internal circulator routes, so that there might be a dedicated circulator route in McHenry or in Crystal Lake or in Woodstock, and those are the conversations which are taking place, and I think we're excited about that. The last thing I would say is that there also is a strong commitment for for Woodstock and for Harvard to get improved warming shelters in the area. And that's, I think everybody knows that they extend basically through Crystal Lake, but then beyond that, they're not there. So that's a very strong push right now. One of the issues has been that the property that is there is owned by Union Pacific. Union Pacific and RTA has never really gotten along very well. Union Pacific is a very, how should I say it, proprietary entity. That's a very kind word. Proprietary entity, and they don't like to work particularly well with other entities. But there is an IGA out there right now. I think things are moving in the right direction for that. So we're hoping that we will be able to conclude the warming shelters in Woodstock and Carmen.
Anyone have any questions? And thank you for that. I've been following that for quite some time, all the improvements on all of those extended routes, because we have many people who either drive to Fox Lake or Crystal Lake to catch the trains,
Right.
because that's the only regular schedule. So that's good news. Ms. Van Wall.
Yes, just a simple question. You have all these acronyms floating around, Dr. Sacco. I'm thinking, is that Northern Illinois Transportation Association? Is that what that
Authority.
is?
Northern
Authority.
Illinois Transportation Authority.
And
Or
does that-
transit, we should say transit.
Northern Illinois Transit.
Mhm.
So does that replace?
RTA,
Okay.
the Chicago Regional
RTA
Transit
is no
Authority.
more.
RTA is no more as of September 1.
Okay.
Correct.
And-
Doesn't mean the service doesn't continue.
Okay.
It's just an organizational and governance change.
Okay.
It's a modernization.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
So
It is.
this is a good thing.
It's a good thing. If I were to join, I think Scott here and myself and others, one of the concerns is that the governor has now appointed 5 additional members to the NEDA board. We never had that before. And so it's going to be an interesting dynamic, I think, in that regard. But everybody, I don't want to say that people are moving forward with a degree of concern or frustration or anything like that, or suspicion, I would say. It's a very positive thing. Everybody's looking at this incredibly positively. This is the first time that, honestly, which is a strange phenomenon, but this is the first time that members of the RTA board, now the NEDA board, and members of the Metro board and the PACE board are starting to really get together and work together. This is really the first time.
So
It's
learning
amazing.
to play well with others.
Yeah. Share the sandbox.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alicia. Really appreciate it. Mr. Sager. Routine consent agenda. I am going to remove 7.1. Does anyone else have anything they would like to remove? Or can I receive a motion to approve 7.2 through 7.4? Mr. Shorten? Motion to approve 7.2 to 7.4, seconded by Ms. Campbell. Any other discussion? Can we have a roll call on that, please, Kath?
Kunkel.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Van Hoff.
Yes.
Sager.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Shorten.
Yes.
Altott.
Yes. 7.1 is our liquor license changes. You'll recall we've talked about this before. The major portion is obviously creating the new class G1 and G2 for the video gaming terminals. We also talked about increasing license fees. And I have given this huge amounts of thought because I really hate to, again, hinder our local businesses and provide them another, obstacle or challenge financially. However, I've done huge amounts of research on this, and we have not done anything since like 1994. So what I would like to propose to you today is to leave the initial application fee of $1,000 alone, but to increase all of the Class A, B, C, and W licenses from $1,500 to $1,600, which would be a $100 increase, which is about 6.5%, right? At our highest over the past years, 7% was inflation. I think 6.5 is pretty reasonable. I'd also like to increase the Class D licenses from $100 to $105, staying within that 6.5%. Same thing with the Class E license, which currently is $800. I'd like to move that to $850. It stays within what we're proposing pretty seriously with the new Class G1. The Class G2 was proposed to at 100. I'm saying that should go to 105. That's, and I know that's a lot, and I apologize I didn't give you something in writing, but it's basically a 6.5% increase across the board to all liquor licenses, except for the application fee, which would remain $1,000. And I think that after 20 years, that's an extraordinarily reasonable ask. We will notify our liquor license holders now that this is something that goes into effect next year. So they'll have time to prepare for that. But that's my recommendation. I'm open for your comments and discussion.
It would go into effect for the renewals next year,
Right.
but for new applicants, it would be
It would be,
immediate upon adoption.
thank you, good clarification, thank you.
I just think that's totally reasonable. We discussed this and we are way behind as far as raising fees, and we looked at other fees in other areas.
Yes,
So-
we did.
so think it's-
I'm serious, I did a way deep dive into all of this, even looking at what other municipalities have done over the past several years, and there have been increases. I don't think we're out of whack on any level with regard to what other municipalities are charging. And again, we will notify ahead of time, and we ourselves are grappling with some significant financial constraints. I just think it's fair that we do what we need to do with regard to our own fees and services. You've seen that in public health, you've seen that with PED, you've seen that across the board. I think you're going to see, well, we just did. You saw that in one of our resolutions with an increase in legal fees as well. So I'm pretty comfortable doing it, and I will tell you, you're going to hear from me during budget time about economic development a lot. So I think I'm being balanced.
Seems fair to me.
I mean, 6% over 20 years, I mean, yeah, I don't like the idea of increasing our businesses, but we're talking one drink or two drinks they have to sell. I'm not,
You know what, don't laugh, I did that. I figured, how many bottles of wine do they have to sell to make up the difference between what they were paying? It's not a lot.
I mean, you don't know how many establishments we license at this point, but if we divide and conquer, I think we'll probably all help cover that, those folks. And on top of it, we have invested a specific amount into easing that process.
Yes.
of the licensing. So, yeah, it's a hard dollar cost to the businesses, but there's also soft dollar savings that they've reaped that I think is far and above what that offset is. So
Thank you, I concur. I mean, again, it's 20 years, we'll give them ample notification, and I promise that, I'll take all of you and we'll go visit some of those establishments. Mr. Zager.
I'm going to take a little bit more of a harsh perspective. 20 years. I think that we could increase higher than 6.5%. And I don't think that is too much of an extension, because the reality is, and I hate to be so blunt about it, but the reality is that alcohol is a desirable commodity, and there's a lot of people out there that take advantage of this, and I don't think that it would be harsh, overly harsh, to increase that annual fee from $1,000. I would go up to $1,100 or $1,200. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's appropriate, and we just haven't done it for a long time, and I think that it's harsh and difficult to do one jump, but I think what we need to do in the future is to look at more smaller incremental increases across the board. But we got to catch up a little bit right now. So that's my thought. I appreciate all the work that you, Chair, have done to kind of look at other municipalities, et cetera. But there are other municipalities which are considerably higher. And I think we need to recognize that.
I'm going to comment and then I'm going to let Mr. Kunkel speak. I concur that alcohol is a desirable, but less so, I look around this table, but less so with the upcoming generations that are just currently getting to 21. They have other mocktails that they prefer, quite frankly. So the state of Illinois actually is seeing a decrease in the overall income that they receive from alcohol. So I'll say that. Again, in addition, I thought leaving it at the 1,000 applications still will encourage businesses that want to have a liquor license to apply for a liquor license. But certainly we'll have conversations about that. Mr. Cook?
I think the thing is a much different strategy, a business strategy. Like-minded to Dr. Sager, I believe these fees should go way up because it's not a tax. This is not a tax. But what this does create is, Kathy has done yeoman's work over the last several years on this stuff.
Amen.
So the people of McHenry County who all chip in to pay Kathy's salary and all of us on this here are actually subsidizing these businesses when we leave these costs and fees too low. So we're actually doing a disservice. We should be raising these even higher than we're looking at with yours. If I had any critique or complaint, it would be that it is too low. It's 6.5%, especially over 20 years. And anybody who's going to apply for a liquor license they should have already done the math with their business and know that the liquor or the alcohol is going to add to their bottom line, and they will put those fees in appropriately. Otherwise, all of us, even this group here, we do the lift on the taxpayer's dime to subsidize businesses who are in business with a free pass. So my thing is, my only lament is that we got this very short notice to bring this on. I understand that when those things happen, but I would like to discuss this in more detail, especially at the COW, and look at raising these fees across the board on these items, and not to get egregious, but over the 6% mark.
I have no problem with any of that. In fact, I'm delightfully surprised to have this conversation. I was concerned that there would be much more pushback, that it was too high. So I am more than open to doing that, can have some discussions, and we can actually prepare a written amendment that would be ready for the COW kind of to look at. But now I'm going to look at the two of you and everybody else and say, what percentage, how much are you thinking, Mr. Sager?
I don't think we should be any less than 10%.
Agreed, that was the number that I had.
And I would look at I personally.
And I would look at it again in a year.
Yeah.
We actually have, Kathy's got it on, I was going to say that, thank you. Kathy's got it on her, to-do list that we need to revisit this minimally every 2 years, if not every year. So, and that's what they're doing in public health, I know, as well, is we actually have a policy now. We have to revisit the amount of fees that we're charging just to stay in line with the costs.
I believe the basic fee should be $1,200, if not $1,250. That's where I am.
Okay, it's open for discussion.
10%.
I like the $1,250 for the basic fee. And then I like to see 10% across the board.
Right.
And I think we should revisit every year. I think that doing it every year, that we get in this position where it's too big of a jump and then we're, backpedaling.
I get it. Guys.
Yeah, and it's every year.
Well, every year, it's going to, our costs go up. And what we're missing too is think about the time that was spent on making this available online. That was one of our strategic planning goals, that we were going to try and make everything more user-friendly. That took a huge amount of effort. In fact, it was over a year, I think, it took to actually get it. Now people can go online, pay online, everything. So it's much more convenient.
I mean, we're going back and forth between 2 drinks a year or 10, and that's what I equated to. And I kind of agree with, getting it right to the right level, but, and on the annual. So my thought is, whatever number we come to, whether 6%, 10%, going forward, we agree to either take a look at it or a schedule over the next 5, 10 years. And again, keeping mindful of the fees that other municipalities and neighboring counties charge to make sure that we're not, getting overinflated.
That was given to you 2 meetings ago, 1 meeting ago. We
Okay.
did give you that.
Okay.
Just saying.
So whatever number we end up, again, on an annual basis, it needs to be either reviewed or just have a schedule, similar to what we do with, CPI and growth.
We can do it every December, during
Maybe
budget.
right after
Yeah.
renewals.
Yeah.
When I renew for the list of renewals for the year.
That's a great idea. All right, we'll make that part of the policy. I'm going to start at Matt, then Van Hoff, and then Mr. Sager.
Well, inflation and all these things change. Everything changes year to year. We could easily find many years that we could just rest and not raise this at all. So it's not like they have to be subsequent raises year by year, but of course, if we incur more cost. Because to your point, Mike, again, this board meeting, I could bring 60 people in who would just holler if they knew that their taxes were subsidizing liquor. that I could bring them in droves. And we don't publicly announce all this stuff, but that's what happens when we create a lift by reducing their cost as business. For me and most businesses, the time that Kathy saved them for being able to go online and pay this and never leave their shop, they would pay double this to just not go. If we'd put it in that terms and said, hey, you can pay $1,000 in person or you can pay $1,500 online, how many of those would have been $1,500 online? Most. Most business people just want to streamline and know their cost and move through those. I think an annual look at it is good, but either way, we can debate forever. We need to put something on paper and then let everybody look at it.
And I remind this body as well that during COVID, we took action to reduce those expenses too. So we have taken that consideration. Ms. Van Hoff.
I think we get in trouble when we try to make up for past mistakes. I believe we should be looking at this incrementally and looking at small increases. Good example was the motor fuel tax. We took the full 8 cents. A lot of people were really unhappy about that. If we had taken small incremental increases throughout the years, we wouldn't have had to do that. So I just think that's 10%. I have a problem with that.
I have a suggestion, but I'll wait. Mr. Sager.
Two things. First is that we have to understand the majority of them also have video gaming licenses. Not everybody, because it depends upon the classification, right? But and that's another source of income, right, for them. And if they didn't have the liquor license, they wouldn't have that opportunity. So I think we have to kind of keep that in mind. The second thing is that I know that in some communities that they have an incremental built in on a percentage basis, and it's like 2.5%, 3%, someplace there. And then they always say, or at least those I've been associated with have said that increase to the closest $5. So you don't have, $132.50. You just say $135, right? They just move it up to the next, and that's in the ordinance itself. And so that's a possibility. With all due respect to Ms. Van Hoff, I understand that it's kind of our responsibility that we didn't increase it incrementally in the past, but that doesn't mean that those expenses have increased dramatically, and we have to make up for some of those dramatic increases. And I think people understand that. You take a better management approach, though, if you go ahead and make the big, ugly increase, and then you go incrementally from that point. But it's the reality of the economy today.
I'm laughing. I want you all to know that I have documentation of me playing with 6.5% to 10%. So I too was thinking. So what I'm going to suggest, and yes, Ms. Campbell, what I'm going to suggest is to take a little straw poll. What we can do is present at the committee of the whole as part of the agenda, the ordinance with the 10%, if I get that, and have the 6.5% ready as an amendment. Or I can do the 6.5% and have the 10% as an amendment so that you get that discussion and we can have it ready for the full county board meeting on Tuesday after having a consensus at the committee of the whole. But I take your direction, you're the committee. Ms. Campbell.
This is the problem that we run into. We've talked about it every meeting because planning and development had the same issue with not bringing the fees up in line. And to your point, when we don't do that, every other taxpayer subsidizes that service for that individual.
That's correct.
And we've been doing this for a very long time. And so I understand that it's a big jump and it's not palatable, but we are also facing a budget shortfall, and we can't we have to just make the decision that this is the way we have to do this. We have to cover our costs for the service. We're not looking to make money. We say that every single time. We're not making money off of it. We're just trying to cover our costs. So I think it is a bigger jump. I'm happy with the conversation because it's probably the right direction to go in. And going into, I think we have to look at every fee structure. It probably needs to be a policy county-wide that every year departments look at their fees that they're charging, and we are minimally looking at maybe cost of living, or maybe we were able to reduce our costs on that and we revisit it. Maybe we've done something phenomenal and now we can do it better and we can actually take the fee down, but we won't know that if we don't review it every single year. And I don't think it's that big of a deal if it's just built into what they have to do every year.
So I need kind of a consensus from you guys with regard to which ordinance you want us to prepare, the one with a 10% increase, or do you want the original 6.5 and we'll have the amendment to 10, Mr. Sager?
I'm gonna go to a $1,250 initial fee, $1,250, and I'm gonna have a 10% increase in the other fees.
I will do that also.
And I agree.
I agree.
Well, I hate to say this, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we win. So that's what, we win. That's what we will do. That will be the ordinance that is prepared for consideration at the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Short and Ms. Van Hoff, I will look to the two of you to talk about the fact that we originally presented the 6.5, and, you know, again, it'll be up to the full board. But with that direction, Kath.
Can we clarify what G1 will be then? We presented it, I believe, at 1750. Do we want to leave that there?
Do you want to leave the G1, the new video terminal at 1750, or do you want to increase that an additional 10% too? That's in line, I'll be honest with you, that's in line with all the others. If we're going to do it, we might as well.
That's the starting point.
Let's do 10%.
10% on top of that too?
Yeah. That'll just keep everything consistent, I think. Okay, with that consensus, take a vote. Yes. Can I have a roll call, please?
Campbell.
Yes.
Sager.
Yes.
Kunkel.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Van Hoff.
No,
Shorten.
Yes.
Altough.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you very much. I truly, it's a hard decision, but I truly appreciate the comments and the efforts on all of your parts. Moving on then, budget reviews. Ms. Schulte, you're up first. Emergency Telephone Systems Board.
Thank you for pronouncing the last name correctly.
I was practicing all week.
I went from very simple last
Yes, you
names
did.
previously to this one, and
Although the first time I met you, I kept saying Tiki.
yeah. For those of you who don't know, Tiki is short for Teresa Kathleen. My mother was a school teacher and didn't like any of the traditional names. Ended up with that. Well, good morning. As Chairman Altough introduced, I am Tiki Schulte, Director of McHenry County ETSB, and Randy Sinatine is our Assistant Director. The ETSB implements, supports, and maintains the 911 and public safety software systems, hardware, software, as well as maintains the network infrastructure provided by the ETSB for the 3 emergency communication centers, 27 police departments, and 15 fire departments within McHenry County. As we've shared annually, the ETSB is solely funded by 911 surcharge, which is governed by the Emergency Telephone System Act, which is 50 ILCS 750, if anyone's looking for some interesting reading material. And the current funding is due to sunset December 31st of 2027. The ETSB does not receive any county tax dollars. In 2022, the McHenry County ETSB migrated from a traditional 5-year capital improvement plan, a CIP, to a 10-year ETSB investment plan. This shift has helped the ETSB better plan and prepare for future long-term capital expenses. This document is annually reviewed and revised as part of our budget process. The ETSB investment plan is a strategic financial management tool The 10-year plan enhances our board's ability to plan for future budgeting needs while providing transparent financial insight to the public. Proactive maintenance and upkeep of equipment, facilities, and programs help mitigate future crises and significant replacement costs. So one of the biggest changes that we've had this year regarding our funding is earlier this year, our ETSB chairman, David Christensen, myself and Randy worked with Treasurer Donna Kurtz to discuss, and her team to discuss the implementation process of investing available ETSB funds. So due to the many years that the ETSB has budgeted very conservatively and been very disciplined in our spending, the ETSB approved a $10 million investment at the May 21st ETSB meeting. And our first quarterly review will take place on September 11th. So as we've mentioned in previous years, former Senator Althoff was very involved and instrumental in the development creation of 911 surcharge across the state. There is significant disparity across the state between the 911 surcharge that is received for the other counties, or all the counties aside from the city of Chicago. I believe I mentioned in the past that there is initiative again this year for an increase to $2.50, and which would bring us, the rest of the state, even with the city of Chicago. However, there is also discussion in changing the calculation that is utilized by the state 911 program as far as how 911 surcharge funds are going to be distributed. So there is a chance that based on whatever funding calculations they come up with, the distribution calculations, McHenry County, ETSB, along with some of the larger counties in the state of Illinois, may see a reduction in the surcharge that we receive. So we don't know yet. It's, of course, obviously with the state, things change frequently. So it was really important to the ETSB to be able to maximize our ability to receive interest and invest what we are able to do. So it's on a rolling program. We did short-term, midterm, and then also 2 to 4 years. So we will have funds available for our capital improvements that we have budgeted for the upcoming years. So, are there, and, oh, right.
I was just going to touch on some of the 26 highlights and some of the 27 goals. For the 26 highlights, we implemented a new 911 system in March of this year, which gave us increased functionality such as transcription and translation, as well as the ability to receive multimedia. Additionally, this year, we took the opportunity, once our previous application specialist left in August of 25, to evaluate that position and determined that the staff was able to absorb some of the job functions that the current position was doing. And we took that position from a full-time position to a part-time position in January. So those are the two things I wanted to mention as highlights. As far as the 27 goals, we are looking to install and implement a new CAD system that is utilized by our 3 PSAPs, our 15 fire departments, and our 27 police departments. So about 1,200 users in total. The original system was implemented in 2009 with a major upgrade in 2017. So that's about $3.5 million that we had budgeted, which you can see as far as the capital outlay, we have 4.9 million. So 3.5 of that is the new CAD system. Additionally, one of our goals is to add to our staff a GIS position. So this was briefly discussed during the reclassification of the application specialist from full-time to part-time back in January. And this GIS position will allow for expedited changes to mapping, which is critical in 911 call routing and accuracy in emergency response. The current process, while accurate, takes several months to make any changes or updates. So.
Any questions? Ms. Van Hoff?
Yeah, just could you restate what the CAD system would cost?
Yeah, 3.5, roughly, we have budgeted 3.5 million.
Okay, and do you have something now that you use it for, this is computer aided assistant drafting, right?
Computer aided dispatch.
Dispatch, okay,
Yes.
all right, cool, okay, I was curious about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all these
the
acronyms.
computer aided dispatch system, the one example I use, everybody's seen the show Cops. And so the dispatchers are answering the 911 call, which is the 911 system that the ETSB provides for the 3 dispatch centers. The dispatcher, or telecommunicator, is entering the information into their computer, which is the computer-aided dispatch system. That system not only validates addresses, provides previous call history, recommends the unit that should respond. So for example, with the county sheriff's department, they have different areas throughout the county. So if a call that they receive is in Harvard, I live up that way, that's why I'm using that example. So we would know that David 5 would be the one due to respond. So no matter what time of day, if there's a call on Elm Street, unincorporated McHenry County, the system will tell them that Area 5 should be the officer that should be dispatched to that call. If it's a boundary area, especially fire departments, depending on the type of call, it can also recommend outside aid if it's a structure fire. It'll automatically let the telecommunicators know, okay, this is the call type. We need to send 3 different agencies with these different pieces of equipment. It's integrated mapping, there's call routing available for the units that are responding. So I missed a step, so then they enter their information and it shows up in the laptop or tablet that are either in the police, fire responding units, gives them routing instruction, gives them caution notes. If it's a business that has chemicals, there could be information in there as far as the type of chemicals. So the responding firefighters know this is what potential hazards there are. Same thing with if it's a location that has multiple calls, if there's something that there's a resident that perhaps has some concerns with responding units, that the police officers, the fire personnel, they have caution notes in there that they are aware of what type of situation they're going into so they can be as safe as possible. In addition to that, we have records management. So it kind of follows it from the answering of the call all the way through handling the call, writing the report, putting it into the records management system, and then sharing that information out with interfaces for fire, police. I know the county uses the crime mapping, the sheriff's department uses crime mapping, so hotspots. So that information is received to GIS from the calls. So that was probably like.
So this is an update to
This
the
would be,
system, or a
yeah,
new
we would be
system?
looking at, we're having the system for as long as we have, we're taking the opportunity to do an RFP to see what other systems are out there.
I see.
That may provide additional functionality.
Correct. And so Randy had mentioned with the 911 system, there is the capability now for language translation with the text to 911. If someone is typing in Spanish, then the system is reading it or translating it on the screen to English. And then when the dispatcher responds, it then translates back
Correct.
in the appropriate language. So there have been so many advances in technology and so many other functions out there that we want to have the best possible for the, for not only our officers, but then, responses for the residents. So I hope that wasn't.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm very passionate about this. I mean, we've been talking all day.
Any other questions? Mr. Kunkel, then Mr. Sager, please.
Do you guys have a plan in place in case the sunset brings bad news, God forbid, funding-wise, dollars-wise?
We do, which is part of the reason why we are doing the investment opportunity now. However, if it were due to sunset, we would be self-sustainable for approximately 2 to 4 years with our current
Based on
current funds that we have, our reserves. However, that would drastically reduce the functionality that we would be able to provide. So 911 is top priority. So if there are additional services that we provide, grants that we provide to the agencies, then we would have to start getting rid of the,
Eliminating all of those
eliminating
extras,
the
amenities that- yeah.
non-essential.
Right, but servicing the citizenry, the people of McHenry County, even if this sunset's not in your favor, you are sustainable without coming back to county funding
Correct,
for the next 3 to 4 years.
correct.
And I'm going to tell you how the sunset works in Springfield. The
Then extended.
the sunset is like what we just talked about here. It's a policy decision for the General Assembly to review and evaluate whether it needs to be decreased or increased. So that would be the conversation. I have significant doubts whether it would ever decrease.
I was gonna say, it's going up.
If it does, it'll go up. But again, I think the issue is, will they keep it the same, understanding that it really is a tax on the users, which is everybody who has a cell phone and still has a landline, right? Less landline, but still the same. And building on that, the question is, how fast now, today, do all those changes occur from advances in technology? I'm gonna guess that every year there's a new provision in every aspect of what 911.
I would think it's more frequently than every year.
Okay.
Because the, Randy's clearly the technical one, I'll let you take this.
Yeah, technology-wise, obviously, public safety's kind of slow to adopt anything. But as far as new things coming out, with AI, there's been a lot of advancements as well. So there's constantly new things coming out, like we've seen with the transcription and translation. So like I said, every year something new is coming out. So with looking to do a CAD replacement in 27, it gives us an opportunity to kind of see what's out there, what new things as it relates to AI and things of that nature.
And so my comment is I doubt, knowing all of that it'll go down. I mean, I would assume that it'll stay the same or it'll be increased.
Well, and in the past, as you're aware, because Chairman, you were still there, it also becomes, I don't want to say a bargaining tool, but there are concessions that have to be made by the 911 industry. And in 2015, 2016, when the 911 surcharge was increased, we also had to reduce the number of PSAPs. So it's not just, oh, okay, we're gonna give you more money. There may be changes, and this is across the state. This isn't specific to McHenry County. But there are things that we really need to be aware of and understand that, increasing surcharge could mean changes across.
Right, and I'm not being negative, Nellie.
No.
I always expect the best, but I do plan for the worst.
And to that point, that is how I've budgeted. I'm sure I've shared before, I've been in my position 34 years and doing the budget just about that long. So previously, we weren't sure if this, with the sunset, if it was going to be extended, or, there have been times where we went, a couple months without having surcharge, and then we received it back once it was, everything was approved. But we've always budgeted very conservatively, which is how we are able to have this reserve to be able to do things with. So, not that we're doomsday preppers or anything, but we've
You're
just
practical.
been
You're
very,
realistic.
yes, realistic is the concern.
Ms. Van Hoffer, Mr. Sager, I can't remember. Sager, then Van Hoff, Sager, go.
You go ahead.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I'm willing to be
This is a
patient.
quickie.
You go.
This is a
And
quickie.
then
I remember we were talking about, this goes back several months, about not getting all of the money with the surcharge, with the 911 surcharge from the mobile units, I believe it was? Was there a discussion like that? Because there was.
With what, I'm not sure, is that something with me or was that something with the sheriff's office?
I thought it was something with your office because.
So with the 911 surcharge, the surcharge is $1.50. However, there are only a portion of that, a large portion goes to the ETSBs throughout the state. But there are administrative fees, there are different, there's grant funding, different percentages that are pulled out that are used for administrative reasons from the state. And that is part of the legislation.
Okay.
So, and I don't know if maybe
So there
that's,
was, yeah.
I mean, we're not missing anything.
Yeah.
We're receiving what,
The full allocation,
yeah.
whatever was appropriated to McHenry County,
Thank
we're
you.
receiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mr. Sacco,
Carol.
then Ms. Campbell.
It's just,
That's Southern gentleman stuff.
Just thank you. Just real quickly, I mean, in terms of the GIS updating and taking several months now and what the anticipation is, so you're putting in different information that you find when you're out there, or if something changes at a particular location, that's the kind of things that you're trying to get updated on, right? Because you talk about whether or not a particular site has, maybe they're storing something on there, maybe it's business and it's a type of chemical that's being stored or all that, that's the type
that
of thing.
database is separate from the GIS. And Randy, if you want to explain what the current process is right now.
Sure.
We use an outside vendor, but.
So the current process for GIS updates is we receive new addresses or new roads from the municipalities.
I got you.
We take that information and we give it to our GIS vendor to do the updates. They do the updates and send it back for us for processing. If there's any issues with that, then we have to then send it back to them. And so it's kind of a process to get things actually updated in our system.
Okay, got it. Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, sure.
I
And then-
appreciate that.
In addition to that, with the dispatch centers, the officers responding, if they find an anomaly or something that isn't correct, then they submit a help desk ticket to us. We verify that entire location and send that information back. So it's more of a timing thing. And so having somebody in-house that could.
Streamline it.
Right, and in addition to that position, we're not looking for somebody that's strictly GIS, 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. We're also looking at having the selected candidate to assist in covering on call and any other technical type things that are needed within the office.
Again, as stated, none of this is tax dollars. Mr. Sager.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not looking for absolute numbers here.
I knew there was gonna be something.
Absolute numbers, but what is the differential on an annual basis generally between our 911 surcharge distribution and our budget expenditures?
I would say that if we're talking about just the surcharge that we bring in on an annual basis, we are, depending on the year. So we just implemented a new 911 system.
Right.
So I would say probably our overall expenses on I'll say normal year, maybe $2.53 million, and the surcharge that we're bringing in right now is closer to $5 million.
Okay, so.
Which allows us the opportunity to not have to come to the board or do bonds or anything of that nature.
So we're looking at anywhere, we'll just say $2.5 million differential, right, on an annual basis. So that's what you have utilized currently to build up your reserve funds, correct? Do you have a reserve fund desire, hope, standard policy number?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase that?
Sure. Is there a established percentage that you're looking at for a reserve or a number of months that you want to
So
have?
we, for a reserve, 1 year
Okay.
is what we have already established.
All right.
And that is something that we keep. And that's for the main functions and the critical systems as far as 911 and computer to dispatch.
Thank you. And $10 million that you have just recently invested or are going to, have you already invested?
Yeah, the investment took place, I believe it was June 15th.
Okay, so the $10 million that you have invested right now, yeah, are there additional reserves in your fund above and beyond that $10 million?
We have approximately $2 million right now in our cash account, I guess you could say.
Okay.
And with the way that we're doing the investment, where's my investment page here? So we have $3 million with a monthly to 12-month maturity intervals. So it's laddering. Look at that, I remember the word. And then $2 million with 1 to 3 year maturities, and then $5 million with 2 to 4 year maturities.
Okay.
So at any time, and we did, when we spoke with the investment manager, and then also obviously with Donna did a presentation to our board that having the laddering and the $3 million available for monthly to the 12-month would allow us the opportunity that if something major happened, we'd be able to bring that back into our cash.
Okay, great. So the, you have basically $2 million additional reserve above and beyond that $10 million. It's already been invested, and invested very wisely, it sounds like. So $2 million, and do you utilize that $2 million reserve then for additional expenditures? Is that budget for reserve, or is that budget for kind of available for expenditures?
I'll say yes, because while we have the 2 million or 2.5 million in our cash account right now, we're still receiving the surcharge. So that surcharge is then being deposited into our cash account at this point in time. So with this being a very new opportunity for us, we will reevaluate
Okay.
as far as whether or not we need it.
Okay, the question boils down to you were just able to decrease a full-time position to a part-time position, but now you're looking for a full-time position, additional individual. So is that additional individual, is that going to come out of your reserve, or is that a part of your budgeted?
It is part of our current budget, and what our intent is to offset the expense of the new position with the part of the reduction from the full-time to the part-time position. And then also, since we are contracting with a GIS vendor, that we would be able to reduce that expense as well.
Okay.
So we're trying to cover the cost of the GIS position within our current budget without adding to the budget.
Okay, great. And the final question I have is, are you budgeting interest or growth funds in your regular budget?
That's a Carrie question.
Yes. This is, you mean for the investments?
Yes.
Yeah, because this is an enterprise fund, but everything has to stay within this fund. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So as my father would say, you all are walking and talk cotton, right?
Just say yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there a consensus to send this budget as presented to the full board? Yes. Okay, consensus given. I will only ask one thing before you leave. Make sure that you stay in touch with Alicia with regard to that legislation and when we can be helpful as a county board to throw our support behind that. Let us know, please. Thank you. Okay, great. No, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Next up is court services as well as court administration. I don't know who wants to go first. You guys. All right. Court services. Mr. Kraus.
I just use the clicker? Sorry. Awesome. I have notes. I'm going to try not to use them so that I'm not reading slides to you guys, but there we go. Thank you, sir.
And I will note to everybody too, just because time is always of an essence here. I am assuming the sheriff's budget is going to take the longest period of time So if we can stay on topic and move along, it'd be appreciated.
I only have a few slides, so.
That was to them, not to you, babe. So,
All right, good morning. My name is Seth Kraus. I'm the Director of McHenry County Probation and Court Services. Good to see you all this morning. Thanks for making some time for us. I'm going to start with the bottom line up front, which is budget. In our personnel section of the budget, I'm going to stop hitting the table. We're actually putting forward a reduced budget in the personnel series by 2.4%. That's possible because we reduced our FTE count by 4 in fiscal 26, just earlier this year. Another important note is that the AOIC, Administrative Office of Illinois Courts, reimburses about 70% of our salary costs every year. In fact, we were able to chase an additional $90,000 of salary costs for May, June, and July of the state fiscal year this year. That wasn't expected, but appreciated, I think, by the county. And my colleagues at Illinois Probation and Court Services Association, which is an association that represents probation officers and detention workers around the state, are actually in Springfield right now today, speaking with legislators about a piece of legislation that we've been pushing for a couple of years that would convert what are known as salary subsidy positions, which only reimburse at $1,000 a month regardless of salary per employee, and convert those into grants and aid, which is 100% of salary that is paid. IPCSA has been pushing that for a number of years. Like I said, we were closer than we've ever gotten. We almost got it into the BIMP in the last legislative session. I will become the president of IPCSA starting in December, and it is something that we will continue to push, and hopefully we can get it across the finish line in this next legislative. Oh, Alicia and I have already been in communication.
all right, just making sure.
I will get her the new bill number when they assign it a new bill, but we have several senators who have gotten on board with that legislation. And so we're very hopeful that we can get it across the finish line.
So you're saying, and I apologize, but grant rather than the $1,000, is grant going to be decided by application, so potentially we wouldn't get anything?
No, it's called grants and aid, but the way it works is that all grants and aid reimbursements are 100% of salary.
Okay.
My position is a grants and aid position. Both of my deputies are grants and aid positions. The salary subsidy was actually put in place in 1984 when a probation officer salary was about $15,000 a year. So $12,000 covered most of it. Hasn't been changed since 1984. The average statewide salary starting for a probation officer these days is about $48,000 a year. So it's time to revisit that piece of legislation and get it changed so that we can bring more money into the counties in the form of reimbursement. I won't get into all the details with you, but the hope is that we can get counties to agree to reinvest some of those savings into services that are offered through the county. Basically, the county would have to pay less in salary, but could allocate that money to services that are needed in the local counties. So it's really win-win for the counties. On the contractual and commodities, the long and short of it is that we're asking for $5,000 less than we did in 2026 in the general fund. We are trying to use our probation service fee fund where we can. There were some limits set on that by the Illinois Supreme Court and AOIC, but we're trying to work the edges of that as much as we can to use probation service fees as much as possible. We too are talking with Donna Kurtz about investing some of the probation service fees. We don't have nearly the $10 million that Tiki did to invest, but we're hopeful that we can look at that to create some more opportunity for us for those funds. All said and done, we're putting forward a 6.7% reduced budget from 2026. So we're pretty optimistic about that. But enough about numbers. Let's talk a little bit about why probation matters.
Is your question better?
Yes.
Excuse me,
Oh, yeah, I'm going quick,
Mr.
trying to
Kunkel,
leave
before
it
you
to the
go
sheriff.
off that.
Two things.
Yes,
Yes, I approve this budget to move forward, and Seth for president.
Hold on.
I don't know what I'm getting into.
I just need to tell you.
We are delighted that it's a reduction by that amount, truly. That's greatly appreciated by not only this committee,
The services
but.
continue that you guys do, it's.
Well, let me talk a little bit about it in these next two slides, and then I'll leave any questions there. So I'm going to start in a place that maybe you wouldn't expect. But 238 out of 100,000 people in Illinois, according to the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, 238 out of 100,000 people are serving some sort of sentence in the Illinois Department of Corrections. In McHenry County, that number is only 55 or so out of 100,000. But nevertheless, those are people that do go to the Department of Corrections. Many factors go into the court's decision to sentence people to DOC, and Dan will talk a little bit about that, I think, in a little bit. But one of the reasons why not to sentence to DOC is a strong probation department. And the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, in the same report, also indicated that sentencings to probation in this county increased by 22%, while they decreased everywhere else in Illinois by 1%. So I think that speaks to the fact that we do our very best to provide good services and good options for the court to keep people in the community, because it is rather expensive to send somebody to DOC. That said, some people do go, and the majority of people that go to DOC come back to the community in which they were sentenced. Additionally, McHenry County being what I like to call the Goldilocks of counties, honestly, because we have great services, we have great supports in the system. It's a wonderful place to be. A lot of people who were sentenced in other parts of Illinois come here on release or parole, as you might know it. Unfortunately, a lot of those folks that go to prison don't get a lot of rehabilitation. And what the statistics show is that about 58% of people who are on mandatory supervised release or parole commit a new offense within 3 years. 19% commit a violent offense within 3 years. That ends them up back in DOC. Probation takes a different approach. We work with people before prison's even on the table. We build them up from a lifetime of maladaptive behaviors, and we try to work with them to make them, contributing and positive members of the community in which they live. We do that by using evidence-based practices like validated risk assessments and case plans. We have been the leader in the state with the implementation of something that I will always call effective practices in community supervision, or EPICS. It was more than 10 years ago that we took that on, and we are the model for the state. In fact, the AOIC uses a lot of our documentation and process because it's now a statewide requirement that every probation department use EPICS, or what Illinois calls Illinois Enhanced Probation Services now, because Illinois loves to put acronyms on everything. But we are the model for the state. Other counties come to see us and see how we've done it. So it's truly a point of pride for me and for the department. But we do all of those things while we put forward responsible budgets to you guys every year. And we're not just meeting standards, but we're setting them for the whole state. Let's make it just a little bit more personal when we talk about Michael. So Michael's a typical defendant in the court system. He's 20 years old. He was charged with possession of a stolen vehicle, which is his third arrest. He has a substance use disorder. He is homeless and unemployed. First arrest was at 15 years of age for underage consumption. Second arrest at 18 for possession of a controlled substance. He did not finish high school. His parents were both in the system due to drugs and general criminality as early as he can remember. He was living on his own by age 16. Michael was living in a gas station, in a wooded area behind a gas station in Harvard. The folks at the gas station would sometimes pay him a couple bucks to clean the parking lot or the bathrooms. But one very cold night in January, Michael was outside that gas station, and somebody who was pumping gas went in to pay. Michael decided that he would go ahead and take the car just to have one night of being warm and being safe. He was arrested within 1 hour of taking that car, brought to the jail across the street. The next day he was released with limited conditions. Flash forward just a little bit to his sentencing. The court imposed that he be placed on 2 years of probation. He's given a drug and alcohol, he's ordered to have a drug and alcohol evaluation and to complete the treatment if it's recommended, which it inevitably would be. 100 hours of public service, random drug testing with any positive results to be reported to the court. He's ordered to seek and maintain employment. He's ordered to complete moral recognition therapy, which is one of the services that we provide at no cost. But they still have to get to the courthouse for that. And he's ordered to pay $50 a month in probation service fees. In his first appointment with his probation officer immediately after court, he is told that he must complete the evaluation within 14 days. He is to start his public service work in that same time frame and complete 10 hours a week until the 100 hours are completed. He's given a drug test, which was positive for THC, alcohol, and cocaine. Remember, he has a substance use disorder, and his only way of coping with some of the stresses in his life are to use. Also, on that drug and alcohol evaluation that he's supposed to get, service providers in McHenry, Michael's in Harvard. He doesn't have a mode of transportation, and he's burned just about every bridge on his way into addiction. His PO told him that any additional positive test will result in a petition to revoke, which will mean more jail or prison time for him. And generally, any compliance issues that he has will result in a PTR, petition to revoke. So as you can imagine, Michael's position went from bad, with all the issues that we talked about before the arrest, to almost impossible to navigate at time of sentencing. That conversation that he had with his PO is the way we used to operate before 2015. We didn't take the time to concern ourselves with the history of the defendant or the challenges that they faced. We did not work with them to form professional alliances and relied entirely on our authority to make them do what the court ordered. There is a time and place for the use of authority, but it is best when it's used kind of judiciously or selectively. And as a quick example for you guys that really takes it out of the court context for just a minute, imagine that you went to the doctor and they told you that the next time they see you, you need to lose 30 pounds. Or you'd be dropped from your insurance coverage. How do you think you'd feel about that? How likely do you think you'd be to successfully lose 30 pounds with no assistance? I know for me, it's not gonna happen. Big changes take time. They take guidance and support. They usually involve setbacks and failures. They do require tough love or accountability when it's necessary. They often require somebody who's willing to work with you and walk with you on your path. Someone who works to understand you and what drives you and what's going to help you most to be successful. And this person does all this while they're teaching you to do it for yourself, so that ideally you can navigate your life going forward when probation's out of the picture. So let's come back to Michael. Can you guys still kind of picture that person? Maybe if you've been to a problem-solving court graduation, you can envision one of those folks. If not, we have 2 coming up in October, and I would sincerely encourage you to attend on October 6th or the 13th. But I really want you to picture that person, okay? But this time, picture the face of your child or your grandchild standing in that spot. Would you want that first PO who was unconcerned about their challenges, their makeup, their life, or would you want the mentor, the guide, the person to walk with them and help them figure it out and navigate life successfully? I can tell you that I know which one I would need for my children, and I hope neither of them are ever here, but nevertheless, I know which one I'd want for mine. So that is why probation matters. We work with people in the community to keep them in the community, to make them effective and productive members of our society. And we do hold them accountable, and we work hard to keep the community safe, all while doing it as affordably as we possibly can. That's it for my presentation, unless you guys have any questions for me.
Carolyn, any questions?
No, I think the budget looks great, and appreciate all the work that you went into it. I think the court system and probation, that what you go through to help keep people in the community is spot on. And you're exactly right, I appreciate the story.
Thank you.
Pat, questions?
No, thank you very much, great job.
Appreciate the work.
You said that McHenry County was a model. Do you have stats with, your success rate?
That's a tough one to do. We have tried it. We've done that a little bit in the problem-solving court, and I think Dan can speak to some of the findings of our problem-solving court studies. Recidivism in particular is hard to pin down, because once they are out from under our jurisdiction, we have to get special permission to rerun them to see if they've got arrested anywhere else. So we could do a study and look at whether they were rearrested in this county after probation ends, but that's not the whole picture.
I think it would satisfy me just if I could see what that was based on, what McHenry County being called a model, what bullet points.
Okay, I can put something together for you.
That'd be great.
Okay,
thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Sacco?
Congratulations on being elected president of the state
Yes.
association.
Congratulations.
And the other thing is,
You might not want to do that.
I'm realizing.
not only are you a
Step.
model for the state in terms of the probation programs, but you're also a model right now, in my mind, pre-card in your budget. So congratulations. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. And I'll work on that information for you.
Okay, thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Seth.
Dan, court services, Mr. Wallace. Court administration, excuse me.
All right, well, first of all, good morning. It's always a pleasure to come before the Law and Government Committee to talk about what's going on with the court and our budget. On behalf of Chief Judge Michael Fedier, he wanted me to send his apologies. He's not able to join us this morning. He's actually covering court for another judge, so it's all hands on deck, and evidently that involves the Chief Judge going back to sitting on the bench. The other thing I want to address real quick.
Intro?
Oh.
Hello, I'm Kelly Schmidt, I'm the Director of the Specialty Courts.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No.
So,
You want to do our other guest as well?
everybody knows Honey. I can't walk around anywhere here without the dog.
Go and ignore.
The other thing, before we really begin, I want to correct something. I know you all got a packet of information that showed something that wasn't quite right. And I am not here to request a 52% budget increase, okay? Rest assured, we're not going to do that. It was a scrivener's error in the packet presentation. We caught it. We worked with County Finance yesterday, got that corrected, and that information is in front of you, okay? So what we're going to present to you today is a maintenance budget with reductions in our contractual services and our commodities so far. So for anyone who is hoping to, really question me about that 52% increase, I apologize right now for taking the excitement out of the meeting. So I want to give you a little information.
I didn't think the 52% was a problem. I thought increase was a problem, and you were really trying to communicate decrease. That's
I'm sorry.
And he wanted you to run for president.
See, I'm getting that. Okay. So organizationally, I want to talk a little bit about the 22nd Circuit. From the local level as a co-equal branch of government, just operating at the local level. But within the circuit, there's 4 primary divisions. That's our criminal division, our civil division family, and our problem-solving courts. Now, each of those are overseen by a presiding judge with subordinate judges underneath them hearing those specific case types. Court administration, we support everything. We support all the divisions, the law library, Office of Special Projects, our jury commission, language access, family violence coordinating council, court reporters, and of course probation. So if my math is correct, the court employs about 94 employees, and that includes our judges. And yes, I include judges in that. At the most basic level, right, the circuit court is a service agency. And when I say that, when I'm in, I'll say, company that doesn't like when I say the court's a service agency, I always ask them, aren't you a public servant? Okay, that's what we are here to do. And so right now we are on track to handle more than 51,000 cases this year, okay? That's a minimum of 51,000 individuals that have come to the court system. When you look at the actual numbers coming through the door, we're in that 250,000 range. I'm sorry, 350,000 range. more than the population of McHenry County. Now they're coming to us because they're a party to a case, jury duty, maybe they're wanting an order of protection, legal forms, they need some help, self-help services, any other reason. But the point is really simple. The court has an enormous direct contact with the public. Now, here's the unfortunate thing. Courts are not designed to generate revenue. And most of the court's ability to generate revenue has been removed by the state legislators. Even on the civil side of things. If somebody wants a civil fee waiver, they come in, they fill out the form, and they indicate that they're on some type of assistance. The court must grant it. It's the law. There's no discretion. So our purpose is actually to provide access to justice, resolve disputes, maintain public safety, and serve people who come through our doors every single day. Now, I want to hit some highlights here. And I'm very, very, very proud of what we've accomplished this year. First, we secured $50,000 from the Administrative Office for Technology Modernization Funding. $32,000 of that was used to replace and add surveillance cameras around the Judicial Center. Now, we could have debated whether this was a capital project, whose budget it should come from. You know, what it came down to was we had funding, we were able to use it, and as a result, we were able to improve safety. So this was a good collaboration between the Sheriff's Office, McHenry County IT, and we're planning phase 2 for next year if we can get some additional funding costs. Second, International Wednesdays. Now, that's what we call it. We changed how we schedule cases for non-Spanish interpreting cases. We've reduced outside interpreter expenditures by more than $50,000 this year. During the comparable time periods, spending dropped from $141,000 to $87,000 at the same time period last year. Our language access workload remains substantial. Okay, we have 3 on-staff interpreters. Since February, Ileana, Marco, and Jose, they've handled more than 4,600 Spanish interpreter occurrences. Now, Courtney in the back. Hi, Courtney. She is our finance coordinator, and she's also our language access coordinator. And so she has scheduled approximately 400 non-Spanish speaking occurrences. Now, what we've done is we've improved access to justice and lowered costs at the same time. So right now, I think that 50,000 will grow as we move forward through the year because of these efficiencies. We also restructured one of our misdemeanor courtrooms. We had 3 misdemeanor courtrooms, 2 were jury courtrooms, 1 was a non-jury courtroom, handled motions and pleas. We decided we needed a 3rd jury trial courtroom based upon the current caseload and what demands that we're facing. We're also using a technique called differentiated case management to look at case complexity and schedule cases accordingly. So the goal is really simple for this courtroom and for how we manage our cases, and that's to provide better justice sooner. Actually, it should be the same or better justice sooner, okay? Let's face it, the court is disruptive to most people. For most people, it's time away from work, childcare, there's transportation issues, there's stress, that's why we have a dog. If we can resolve cases more efficiently, without sacrificing justice, that's a meaningful improvement. Jill Damer, my Deputy Court Administrator, received her Certified Court Executive Certification through the National Center for State Courts. That was a fabulous step in her professional development. We're also preparing the 22nd Circuit to host the Northern Circuit's conference this September. We're going to bring in court leaders from across Northern Illinois. And we're also bringing in Cook County for the first time ever to be part of this. We're going to be talking about leadership and how we lead through change and challenges. We have an outside agency coming in called CRA Admired Leadership. I also had the opportunity to present at the National Association for Court Administration conference in Jacksonville this year. called Action Over Apathy, Leading for Judicial Independence. And I used an old Office of Strategic Services field manual to basically show how culture can be defined by very small things and small everyday behaviors. So it was very well attended, very well received. From that, I'll also be presenting at the United States Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C., and also the Early Career Professionals in September. Judge Feeder and I also just got back from the NAPCO conference. We presented with Scott Block there. We highlighted the courts as a convener and collaboration. We collaborate every opportunity we possibly can get. Why? Because that's good governance. We highlighted our problem-solving courts. We also highlighted our Family Violence Coordinating Council. And I'm extremely proud of what we've accomplished with that entity over the last year. The Family Violence Coordinating Council, we come before you every year to accept a resolution for a grant that funds it, but it brings the court, law enforcement, prosecutors, defense attorneys, victim advocates, service providers, all to one table. And the goal is to coordinate a better community response for community safety. Identify gaps, build communication, stronger victim advocacy and safety, and better outcomes. We're also at the very beginning of developing a fatality review board to examine family violence, identify basically system interactions and intersections, gaps, and develop improvements that align directly with the, honestly, the county strategic plan. Again, this is all funded through ICEJA. One thing that I did not get on this slide is we moved all of the pretrial services responsibilities to the Office of Statewide Pretrial Services. Most of the electronic monitoring costs are now borne by the state. We were able to get about $68,000 in reimbursement back from the state, covering those costs while we were doing them. So those will be returned to the general fund. Thank you, Carrie, or you're welcome, Carrie. How's that? And we're going to continue to look for, our funding for SAMHSA, IDOT, Northwestern Mental Health Board grants, but predominantly for our Office of Special Projects. And we also implemented new jury commission software. There's our goals, continuation grants, phase 2 of our project, and we're also, I've been talking with Judge Feedier about having a definitive 5-year strategic plan, so we'll be doing that as well. All right, so our budget. So high level 2027 budget summary. It's a very straightforward budget request. We're presenting a maintenance budget. There are no supplemental requests. There's no reclassification requests. Now, a couple things about a maintenance budget in courts. It sounds simple, right? We're going to keep everything flat. And in many ways, it is. We're not asking to expand programs, add new positions at this point, or create any additional expenditures from the general fund, okay? Trying to maintain the same level of service, but the court's not a business, okay? We can't control demand. We don't run sales. We don't advertise. I don't have anybody standing on, Seminary Avenue and Ware Road here flipping a sign, okay? We manage what comes through the door. We have to. And with that comes a level of unpredictability. Jury expenses are probably the best example of that. We can look at prior years. We can make a reasonable forecast. That's what it is. It's a forecast. We don't know how many jury trials are going to go. We don't know how many will occur in a given year. And we certainly can't tell somebody they can't exercise their constitutional right because there's not enough budget for it, okay? Same holds true for court-ordered evaluations, fitness evaluations, mental health evaluations, substance use evaluations. There's really circumstances where the court cannot move forward without those being done before sentencing, okay? And that's just on the criminal side. There's a whole nother side. Juvenile court, all the same things, juvenile abuse. On the family side, there might be assessments that are necessary. that we get to pay for, and we have to provide them. Now, we cannot predict when there's going to be a serious criminal matter, but they will occur. I'm sure everybody knows there was a recent incident that occurred on the Fox River. There's going to be costs associated with that. What? I don't know, but there will be, and they'll be significant. And the court and everybody that touches that will have to manage that, okay? That's the nature of the judicial branch. We take our stewardship responsibilities very, very seriously, and we work hard to forecast appropriately, control costs, and we use outside funding any chance we get, okay? But at the end of the day, the court has an obligation to ensure that every person who comes before us receives the rights and services the law requires. Every person, every single time. So, this is in your packet. This is the corrected version. You can see that we are putting forth our total request of $2.6 million. That includes just over $1.5 million in personnel, $1.3 in contractual service, and $122,500 in commodities. It's presently budgeted because one of the biggest issues is the operating transfer out for to balance the special project fund balance. But there's a couple of important points here, okay? That transfer out comes after all of the grant revenue, fee revenue, and outside funding is expended. Okay, we expend that first. Only then is that applied. If those revenues improve, the general fund exposure can actually be reduced, okay? And the 3-year comparison matters, I think, as well. The fiscal year 27 is in total is lower than that of 2025 and reflects a maintenance budget, not an expansion for administration. Now, I want to talk a little bit about 24-25, okay? Because I think it's important, okay? This slide is really about accountability. You know, we did go over budget in FY 24 and 25. And I think it's important that we're direct about why that happened, how that happened, but more importantly, steps that we've taken and we've changed as a result. And there were several contributing factors: reclassification of positions that occurred, in-grade advancements pursuant to county payroll policy that happened pursuant to policy, but there was no additional budget. Dealing with reimbursement dollars, I'm going to assume everybody remembers the fiasco we had when the federal government canceled any of the specialty court funding, and then we had to pivot. Well, not only did you have issues like that, but just getting the dollars can be difficult and be delayed, primarily with the state of Illinois. You know, our IDOT grant, it's a pass-through from the feds to the state. The state holds on to it until they get around to it. But that being said, you know, none of these items standing alone created the entire problem, but together they really made it a difficult problem to manage. But the important part is the court no longer reclassifies outside the budget. We just will not do it, okay? We also no longer use in-grade advancements as a separate mechanism. We're just not going to do that either. Those changes will all be handled as part of the reclassification through the budget policy or budget process. We've also implemented new grant billing policies to ensure that the reimbursement is received as timely as possible, okay? And it's being monitored very closely by Courtney. So the lesson is really straightforward. If we expect you to hold us accountable as the judicial branch of government, we need to make sure that we have internal controls as well, okay? And that allows us to be accountable to ourselves first. So this isn't really about what went wrong, but what we learned, okay? And we're going to commit to making sure that we do things that does not happen again. Law library, pretty straightforward, maintenance budget. Budget did grow. Keep in mind that this is all funded through the fees that are collected by case filings. No funds from the general fund are spent here. So budget's essentially flat. We did increase via resolution our part-time position to a full-time during this fiscal year. So that's why you see that increase there. All right, so now the Office of Special Projects, okay? This is the one that always gets interesting, and it's because of what we do and how we do it. This slide shows you the full budget request for the Office of Special Projects. We're asking a total of $1.6 million compared to the $1.4 million in '26 and the $1.18 million in fiscal year 2005. Now, the important part is that much of this, actually all of this, is an increase in funding from grants, not the general fund, okay? Much of this budget is supported through federal, state, local foundation, and the mental health board. And there is a little bit of fee-based funding here. Now, I'm going to show you that.
Dan, can I also ask too, of the focus, are any of those mandated, the drug court, the mental health court, are any of those mandated, or are they all, I jumped the gun?
You jumped the gun.
Sorry.
But that's okay. So our Office of Special Projects is made up of the drug court, mental health court, UI court, and our assisted outpatient treatment programs, okay? The only one that's mandated is drug court, okay? That being said, in just a minute, in a couple minutes, I'll explain what happens if those programs go away, okay? So this is a breakdown of the Office of Special Projects funding and positions. The office has 14.5 positions. It is personnel heavy, right? But only 4.25% of those are supported by general fund dollars. The rest are supported through federal, state, local foundation, as I said, fee-based funding. Also, the 2 positions that are ARPA funding that were transferred over to full-time positions in the county. That's part of that 4.25. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about this. We talked, and Seth mentioned recidivism costs. One of the questions that we must always ask ourselves, are these programs doing what they should do? Well, you'll remember a couple of years ago, we did a study to test our reality. And we undertook a comprehensive recidivism study on every graduate of the drug court, DUI court, mental health court, going back to 2009, okay? And at that time of the study, we had 307 graduates. We used national crime information data that we were able to get. And the results were significant. Across all 3 of the programs, thank you, Seth, the overall rearrest rate was 34%. Now, if we counted every subsequent request, regardless of outcome, it was 34%. When we excluded cases that were ultimately dismissed or dropped, that recidivism rate dropped to 24%. 35% for the drug court, 21% for the DUI or the mental health court, and DUI court was just 4%. Now, these numbers mean much more than when we compare them to the national averages, okay? Seth mentioned a couple. Loyola did a study and found that 49% of the people that released from the Department of Corrections were rearrested between the years of 2018 and 2019. Now, nationally, that number jumps to 68% in 3 years, and then jumps to 79% in 6 years, and then 83% in 9 years. Oops. Now, why does that matter? That's all paid by somebody else's pocket, right? Recidivism has a cost. And these aren't my numbers, okay? These are not my numbers. These numbers came from the Illinois Sentencing Policy Advisory Council. And they were able to come up with the tangible and intangible costs of a criminal offense. So let's just, let's go back to your fella, Michael. Michael's motor vehicle theft tangible cost are $9,653. That's your police response, your fire response, your court response, your response from State's Attorney and Public Defender's Office. Now, more serious offense, like let's say robbery, $10,629 in tangible cost, but now you get into intangible cost to the victim. Let's talk real quickly about impaired driving with a crash. I think most of you know I was involved, I was hit by a DUI I was involved in a DUI accident. We were hit from behind. That total of $108,503 as a result of that accident is too low. My costs were higher than that. My vehicle repair was higher than that. Those are real costs, okay? So when we start talking about recidivism rates, the work that we do in the drug court, mental health court, DUI court, AOT, and we were invited to the committee of the whole in September. So we're going to be presenting on our second phase, and I am thrilled to do that. I'll be much more animated, I promise. But when somebody goes through these programs, we want them to succeed. Why? That's better for McHenry County. It's better for the community. The community's safer, the community's healthier, right? When somebody comes out and they commit a new offense, these costs, these tangible costs, those are taxpayer dollars. That's your general funds. That's your municipal funds, you know, that are getting expended every time there's an offense. So if we can treat people differently through the program, through probation, you know, it's coming and seeing the judge every week or every other week, wrapping around services, it makes the entire system better. So going back to your point, yes, we could get rid of mental health court. We could cut it. But here's the thing. These people aren't going away. They live in your communities. We see them now. They're in Seth's office. The sheriff's office is dealing with them. The state's attorney's office is dealing with them. We're dealing with them. They're not going to go away. So we can go ahead and, I guess if we want, we can certainly ship them off to prison. But to the tune of $94,000 a year per person. And what do you get for that? 43% are going to come back and commit one of these offenses.
And they still go through the court system.
And they're still coming to the court system. And they're still going to have to be dealt with. So do we want to deal with them better and differently or not? Ooh, that slide did not come out at all. Looks great on this, but not there. This is our cost per client. Our total budget for this Office of Special Projects is $1.6 million. We're going to serve about 215 people this year is what we project. Dividing that out, that comes out to $7,819 per person.
And you're going to send us this presentation, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks, Ken.
Absolutely, I will. Now, even if I were, and I didn't do it for this presentation, Seth, I apologize for it. If we added in all the cost of probation and everybody that's involved in these, this cost would rise a little bit, probably to about $13,000. Which is still significantly cheaper than sending people off to the penitentiary where here's the other thing. Seth mentioned this as well. Seth, you really teed this up well. Most people who commit an offense come back to where they committed the offense. And we can keep the revolving door going. I have 50 years of data that shows that that is ineffective. That somebody with a mental illness or a substance use disorder comes into the system, we put them in prison, they come back. Sheriff will be dealing with them within a few months, and they're back in the system. And we just keep doing that. That makes no sense. Steph also mentioned we've got 2 graduations coming up in October. I know some of you have been there before. I encourage everybody to come, okay? They are fantastic. I think I'm done. Kelly, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, you did a great job.
Oh, did I?
I would just say too, want the presentation, but if in the, downtime that you have, because you have so much downtime available, said with a little tongue in cheek, it would be, I think, valuable to all of us to have kind of a comparison of, in the event that the specialty courts were eliminated, how much savings would that in effect really provide the county? Noting all the variables that you just did, simple. And I know it can't be accurate, but you can give us an idea.
We can definitely.
Could you do that?
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
I would truly appreciate that.
That's just identifying which general fund dollars touch whom. So that we can accomplish that even later, by the end of the week.
That would be great. I would appreciate that muchly. Opening it up to questions. Mr. Sagar, I'll start with you, please.
Thank you. Dan, great report. Appreciate it so very much. All the work is just exceptional and it's truly beneficial for us as a county, so I'm grateful. Do have some questions though with regards to special projects. What is the differential between what the county is putting into the special projects versus grants and state dollars?
So that $190,000, that's it.
Okay.
190,000 out of 1.6.
Okay, $190,000. Okay, thank you. And I didn't quite understand the 2 ARPA full-time positions. Are they leaving or are they staying? I didn't quite understand that.
No, the ARPA funding, or the ARPA positions were converted to full-time at some point.
Okay, so
We did that by resolution.
Yes.
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I thought, because I wasn't real sure about that. So, and talk to me about the 4.25 positions. That's the number of people that are working with the specialty projects programs altogether, or that's, where is that 4.25?
So
I didn't understand that.
in total, there's 14.5 positions within the Office of Special Projects.
Right.
Each one might be assigned to something, a DUI court, drug court, mental health court, okay, or the AOT. The 4.25 positions, help me out, Courtney, those.
So those are what are paid by essentially the county. So everything else is grant funded. The 4.25 is what the county is responsible for.
What are the positions though?
There is a case manager, the administrative assistant.
I believe one of the clinicians, and actually I think part of the IT comes out of that as well.
So what you're saying is that 4.25 positions, that's what the county's paying for, and we're getting that for $190,000?
Yes.
Okay. And the second question associated with that is you also have 4.25 plus asking for a new clinician and a secondary. So in your budget, is mental health board asking for 2 additional positions?
So we are asking for a new clinician and a new nurse in addition to the 4.25 that they already fund. Yes.
Right. So 2 additional positions.
That is correct.
And do you expect that to be added then to the 4.25 positions in specialty projects right now that the county is paying for?
No, those would be funded by the mental health board.
Okay.
Now, totally, but now we don't know if we're gonna get that award yet. So, I mean, if we do get it, we'll be bringing a separate resolution forward.
It'll be a supplemental. It's not included in the budget you're presenting to us. Okay? Got it?
Great.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
So, and I just have to give you extreme commendation. I mean, I think the specialty projects effort is just unbelievable and incredible, and it just saves us innumerable costs. But I also want to just say that I truly, truly appreciate the fact that you've kind of gotten into the mode and into the system and into the routine. You're a model agency in terms of we are not going to ask for reclassifications outside of budgeting. Period, point blank, that's it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Van Hoff?
I'd just like to reiterate what Dr. Sager said. I appreciate not asking for things outside of budget. That happened before, and it's not pleasant. So thank you very much. You've done an excellent job.
We learn things. Judge Feeder and I reserve the right to get smarter.
Okay.
Mr. Short?
Double ditto.
Double ditto? Okay. Mr. Conkle? Mr.
Great job, Dan.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Campbell? Excellent program.
See you in October.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you in September. We're going to show off what we're doing, so we're looking forward to it.
Appreciate that. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Is there concurrence to move this budget as presented forward?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Done. If you want to take a 2-3 minute break, use the washroom, get coffee while the sheriff sets up, but I'm serious, like 2 or 3 minutes only. And Sheriff, can I invite you up? Yeah. We're waiting for the coffee to brew. So, pardon me? I got a new coffee. Oh, this is my teacher. That's all go. Raise your hand. Okay, so Sheriff, if you want to introduce and begin your presentation, I would appreciate that much, sir.
Yeah, for sure. So everyone knows Sandy.
Good morning.
This is Colleen Hanrahan. Colleen is our coordinator down at the Regional Training Center. So she was, she's been with us just over a year, and this was her first budget. So
we'll be
nice,
gentle.
please, be nice. She did an amazing job.
Or don't. Ask hard questions.
Oh, boy. I do want to thank, before I get started, to Carrie and her team. I know that her and Sandy, after last year's budget, we had several conversations and really trying to make sure that the number that you guys are seeing is an accurate portrayal of what the Sheriff's Office budget is. And I want to, you'll hear me repeat this theme over and over again. This is not an expansion budget. This is an accurate portrayal of what the Sheriff's Office costs as is. We're not asking for any big new programs. This is a very, as Sandy says, a maintenance budget. So I'm going to go, I know you guys got the handout of our budget presentation. I'm not going to bore you guys with the first 2 pages, and we'll just talk about some of the highlights that we had done. So you guys know we have talked about body-worn cameras. Those are unfunded mandates that we have to do. And this year we'll be talking about a new contract with Axon. I know that has been a topic of conversation, so that should not be a surprise to you guys. But last year, part of the current existing contract is they refresh all of our the current components that we have of that contract to make sure that everything's up and running. But the contract does end at the end of this year. So next year, there is a continuation.
So it's a continuation of services, and it's going to go from ARPA funding to general fund funding? So it's just a continuation?
This year, we once again had won the Illinois Traffic Safety Challenge. That is a extensive book that the traffic unit is responsible for putting together and shows all the good work that the guys and gals on patrol are doing to assure that the streets are safe through grants and all the work that we do on direct patrols and all that type of stuff. So pretty cool and honored to be part of that as well. The garage is utilizing a 3D printer. I don't know, last year you guys remember we authorized the purchase of a 3D printer. So we are actually printing parts for our cars so that we can do everything in-house and not buying any new parts and all that. So they've gotten really creative. We partnered with MCC so that they can help us, teach us how to use that program. Been an invaluable resource. We talk a lot about collaboration and things we do. There's another aspect of something that I think has been an interesting program, and they're learning how to use that more and more, which has been helpful in saving costs at the end of the day. We continue to send supervisors, staff and command, so Northwestern has staff and command. We have 2 that are just about to go into it right now. If you haven't seen or poked your head down in the jail yet, they are currently undergoing the new floor project. So they cleared everything out. We bought a new dishwasher last year from Hobart, so we're excited to see that project hopefully come to a quick end because it's been it's a pain, but they're doing a great job over there. So DHS pilot. I just got an email yesterday from Thresholds, and I just want you guys to hear, I think it's pretty cool, and timing was good. It says, Dear Sheriff Tatum, congratulations. We're delighted to let you know that you have been selected to receive the Thresholds Hero Award, recognizing extraordinary individuals whose commitment and partnership help people with mental health and substance use conditions across the critical resources and support they need to thrive. Your commitment to creating greater access to mental health care and strengthening the communities we serve reflect the very spirit of Threshold's mission. We're honored to recognize you and your contribution to celebrate at our annual celebration. So DHS, Thresholds, our agency, have seen a ridiculous amount of success in returning individuals that are unfit to stand trial back to their home counties, ready to serve trial again, in-house, which means that we're not waiting for state hospitals and the agencies, the sheriff's offices that are currently housing individuals that don't have the resources. We're getting them off their books. We're getting them back to them so they can serve trial, so they can get off their books. If you guys pay attention, unfit individuals in jail are very high liability. And some agencies don't have the means that we do to be able to fulfill the obligations that we have. The state kind of changed statutes back in 2023 on how long we were able to hold them. And they still are, hundreds and hundreds of beds behind on this. And they're talking about closing a mental health facility down in Choate. So we're gonna lose another facility. So I think, when we talk about the good things we do, I wanna highlight the really, really good things we do because this is a great partnership. And to be honest with you, there is a source of revenue that comes in with this support as well. We just received our ACA accreditation, an accreditation from the jail where it shows that all of our standards and our practices are at a nationwide standard. So we were 100% on the mandates and 97.2% on the non-mandates. It's pretty good numbers that we were able to do. 0 issues with our IDOC inspection. We continue to increase our training hours, and we're working with Lake County Sheriff's Office to secure another 2-year contract with them. 2027 goals, I talked about the upgrade with Axon that includes tasers, body-worn cameras, outpost cameras, drones to the fleet. It's a big contract, but all the stuff that is used on a daily basis by our officers, to assure the safety of the community. We're hoping to add a canine to the patrol. We'll see how that works out. As we always do, we identify equipment and infrastructure that needs to be replaced. Transport vehicles, we're going to be looking at this next year as a couple of them are a little old. Again, we like to train, and we'll talk more about that with the Regional Training Center. And Sandy's always looking at ways, and you know me long enough to try to find better ways to, as Scott always tries to point out, being efficient, but really trying to be a steward of the community because I'm a taxpayer as well. And my goal is to make sure that I can balance the highest degree of service that we can do, for the least amount of dollars and taxpayer dollars we possibly can, which means, big borrow and steal, but we'll talk a little bit more about, and actually this could be a good segue into, I've been down in Springfield a couple times trying to deal with that police social work, that co-responder program pilot that the state would fund. I'll be all in this year. I've been comfortable and been nice the first 3 years. I think this year my tone will change a little bit down there in what we're doing. We currently are sitting on the other 4 law enforcement agencies. They have monthly calls that they've been part of as the co-responder pilot program. They asked to be part of it. We're actively participating in that program. So I have a little bit more ammunition to come back, not only the statistics that show it, but the work that we're currently doing and providing to them. And they've taken some of our stuff that already on a promise of what we would do. And then I'll address this, the white elephant in the room. You guys heard about the police social work there. We have a grant with the Mental Health Board. So some word got back to me that we did not want to fill out the request for the budget. That's not an accurate portrayal of what happened. So Sandy's responsible for reporting to the Mental Health Board on the current grant. Is that 6 months or is it quarterly?
Every month.
Every month.
Report.
Even better. So I can tell you, here's what happened. Sandy gets the monthly request from the Mental Health Board, and I believe this is how crazy I'm gonna get. I believe it was on May 27th that she got that email, just a reminder to report. On May 29th, she got a similar looking email from the Mental Health Board. That was the request that they're opening the NOFO, the Notice of Funding Opportunity, for their grant process. That was the only request that we got from the Mental Health Board. They didn't send it to our executive director, they didn't send it to our advisory board, and they didn't send it to me. I will own 100% that we did not meet that window because we didn't know about it. It was an oversight on our part. We've changed the processes. But I will say, in a day and age where there are several people that are involved, we had no, other than the email, notice that this was open. So tonight, I am going to the Mental Health Board. I had sent them an email and request to speak to them and go in front of them. And I plan on doing the same thing. I will own 100%. We missed it. We absolutely missed the window. But this is a huge program that has seen huge success. I know Dan talked about recidivism. This program has seen an average of 72 to 80% reduction in recidivism. Everyone knows SESA, the new bill that basically has law enforcement not showing up to calls for mental health services. Mm-hmm. If we lose a police social work program, we're gonna put a lot of people in a lot of bad spots. And I think that if we're gonna continue with partnerships, so a little historical on that is, a third of it was funded by the county, a third of it was funded by the partnering agencies, and a third was funded by the Mental Health Board. It is like the epitome of a collective, effort to assure this. So I have some frustrations, and I'm trying not to let them out, but I really am frustrated because I know all the good work we're doing, and I only do that because I'm committed to it. I know how the staff is committed to it as well. So we are addressing that. I want to at least make sure
And
that.
let's give a little bit of perspective there too. Mental Health Board makes a decision with regard to those grant applicants, but they always hold back a certain amount of money so that, and you've all heard this, they've all made this presentation to us. They hold back a certain amount of money in the event of emergencies that they evaluate about halfway through their year. I'm gonna guess after the sheriff's presentation to the Mental Health Board tonight and some of the situations that are going on, that they will be invited back to that opportunity and have another shot to obtain those funds. Now again, I don't serve on the Mental Health Board. I can't tell you what the ultimate outcome will be, but I'm going to promise with 100% surety that the invitation to present will be forthcoming. And so there'll be another bite at that apple for us, I believe. Mr. Sacco.
Thank you, Chair. What is that, you say it's a third, basically, from Mental Health Board, right? What is that, dollar-wise?
We had asked for
So the
300.
grant is 360 and we get 320.
So 320,000.
Correct.
Is what we're getting.
Correct.
It started off as an intergovernmental agreement because it was a partnership with all three entities. And then with changes at the Mental Health Board and their executive director, it became a grant.
And what would the, if we were able to participate in the state's co-respondent program, what would we be able to drive there?
100%.
100% of the total?
Entire program.
Entire program. Why isn't it, what is your perspective that the reason that that has not yet been approved?
So we, in the House, it's passed 100%. It's stalled in the Senate. The first year, it didn't even make it out of assignments. The second year, we went right to appropriations. It caught partial traction. This past year, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you because we added a ton of people to it. It should have passed. ICEJA has said that they have the money. There's no money, extra money that's being asked of the state. They have the money already accounted for.
I'm going to guess that it's a I want it, not you situation. They limited, if you'll recall, the very first piece of legislation limited the program to very specific areas. We are asking for McHenry County to be included as one of those specific areas. There is now competition, and it's not just McHenry County that's asking to be added to it. There are others, and I think that there's some maneuvering, trying to please a lot of different legislators who want access to these funds.
But on top of that, I would encourage you all, who is your representative in your area, more your senators in your area to reach out and ask for support and sign on to it. That can't hurt.
And more importantly is to look at the committees and talk to them about the value of the program and everything that our county is doing to assist other entities create programs that, again, offset. We should be acknowledged and rewarded for our efforts.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sheriff, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Recently, I was reading about another county that had, it was in a paper maybe like a week ago, about another county that had a social work program. And I don't remember offhand which one it was.
So the only thing I can think of recently, Franklin County was added to the DHS pilot program where they're housing unfit to stand trial individuals. But as far as a countywide police social work program,
I'll find that article because I thought it was fascinating. I didn't think, because McHenry County I thought was pretty unique in that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd be interested to see who that is.
Mr. Kunkel.
So I want to pull back to the numbers.
Sure.
My metrics for all of these budgets has been the 3.4 to 4.5% inflation, which is what they've said from this 12-month period we're at. So I'm looking at all the numbers that are going in excess of that. That means for a true maintenance budget, for the most part, we shouldn't see much more than a 4.5% lift. You're real close. You're 1.43, provided you're 1.43 over that high mark. Provided we don't get a surprise, obviously, with the work comp and the extra time period that we had. Compensation time, right? Sorry, words escape me. That's now reworked through your department, correct?
Well, all right, so before we get ahead, I'll be able to answer a lot of questions. So personnel, obviously, personnel is about 85% of our budget. What we did with this budget is we're no longer holding back that 2%. So when we were working with Carrie, and correct me if I'm wrong.
We will be holding it back, but the challenge that we've had in prior years is the way it works, because it's per policy that it's held back, is we would present the budgets to you with the holdback already taken out. And then when we did the non-departmental budget, it was just one number that was just
For everybody.
there. So the plan this year is to present the budgets because, if we have, like we had a couple of years ago, and there's no vacant positions, this will be the cost, with the 2%. So what I will do for non-departmental next week is have a list of all the general fund departments, their personnel as presented, and then what that holdback amount is. Because another issue we run into is when, it's kind of behind the scenes of how we calculate that number. Then that becomes a number of, well, is that number too high? And which also, when we get to the end of the year, adds to our personnel variance if we don't achieve the vacancies. Does that make sense? So it becomes kind of this large number that just sits out there, and if you don't really see the calculation for how we came up with it, it becomes a number that is easier to reduce. So for personnel, let me break this down a little for you. So jumping ahead, personnel is 6.7%. 3.5 is merit, which is in the contracts for our individuals. 2% is added into this because in the past, that wasn't added in. So that accounts for 2%. And then, as I'm told, and Carrie can jump in, another 1% is because 2026 was budgeted a little low. So if you took out the 2% and that 1%, we'd be just around the 3.5, which would bring us right less than what that maintenance would be. Because if you look at our contractuals at 3% increase, you think about how our inmate healthcare, which is the largest contract we have, has more than a 3% increase in it. So we've managed by reducing in other areas to keep that down. And then contractual or commodities at 1.85, that's just in the that's in the nature of work in the contracts.
That's what I said, and your 6% is actually in my metrics and works, and I've sussed out some of these answers, not the way Carrie just put it to me, but I sussed out some of these answers on that stuff. So that isn't where my argument is. My argument is we can't see as a board $1 million bill towards the tail end of 27 and say that we met this percentage. The 5.93 actually this is one of the ones where I wasn't going to have to give my speech. What are you going to do? Who are you going to cut? Or how are you going to get there into my 4.5? Because I understand the way the mathematics of it work. You are right there. In fact, you're just a tad under from my calculations, and you're on the low end of the metric. I'm up to 4.5. But I just need to have some sort of confident feeling, and I have personal experience in comp time and how those things were used. We used it judiciously. We used it as a lever to make money as officers. How are we combating that not being abused? And
yeah, well, so I think a lot of it has to do with our daily operations, right? And we are challenged on some things that, people go to hospitals and you have to have 2 officers there. And we can't, that's stuff that comes up. I will tell you, I forgot how far back we looked, but the comp time that the office has earned, almost to the hour, has been consistent for the past 10 years. So when you think about the amount of work that we've increased, to be able to continue to keep that means that we are doing the best we possibly can. The problem comes in is when we're able to rob Peter to pay Paul, when we're not fully staffed, all those comp time numbers went unnoticed. I mean, we were able to use the salaries and the vacancies to pay for that.
Unfortunately, now I'm in a completely different position now than when I was on your end, on your side of the fence. Yep. All I'm looking for is a way it's just like with the courts. There's no way they can say, if they run into a capital murder case, they can say that these numbers are gonna hold true. I understand that portion of it. Is there something to be done? And no is an okay, acceptable answer. Is there something to be done where we can be tracking that it doesn't come as a surprise in the end? Maybe it's a quarterly where you come to us and say, here's where we're tracking, and I only need a percentage. I don't even need here's where we're tracking in this comp percentage as we're moving forward. We can see if that's eking up or eking down or moving forward. Not that we get the big surprise. It's crazy how much abuse we've taken on the outside here for that one big number, that people thought we were stealing that. And I explain to them all the time, this is normal operations for a police department or sheriff's office, and there isn't a way of saying, hey guys, you can't go over this. I understand that.
We probably could, and I know ADP is gonna be a lot easier with this, but, so by contract, their officers and deputies are allowed to have a certain amount. By every year, they're allowed to carry over a certain amount. So in theory, we would have to, I don't know how they would run a program, they could see what that amount of, what they could carry over and get a better idea.
At least we'd know the surprise element of that as we moved forward.
So the amount that's earned is the same. We can sit here and say, we're probably gonna earn the same amount this year. The rate at which it's earned is the issue. In last year,
And the rate at which it cashes in.
because of some of the adjustments to the contract, because we didn't have the vacancies last year. This year, we already have some vacancies, so I don't know how that's gonna balance out at the end of FY '26. But last year, that was a lot of the problem. My understanding is, moving forward with what's in the bank, I can tell you what we're earning. I can come before you every month at Law and Government and say, this is what's been earned to date. This is what's been earned in this quarter. This is kind of what the cost of it looks. When people take their comp, it's in lieu of salary. So the salary line is being reduced and offsetting it. It is the comp payout, which is a little more unpredictable.
But
That isn't in our budget. That isn't in our budget at all right now.
But you also see and I'm assuming you track the carryover, how much of the stuff is not being taken at a time.
So I guess that's our challenge. So right now, well, at the end of '25, because we have to accrue for it as part of the audit, it's a liability. That number was about 1.8 million in comp.
And that's a great thing to let people know publicly, because that is a liability that we are carrying.
And that would be good every quarter.
So the 1% increase in their budget, so what we have to try to balance out, so as the sheriff mentioned, the amount of comp earned has been pretty consistent. And that I think is my challenge for him, and he's working on a lot of different things, is actually reducing that. But as far as explaining, when it goes from a liability, you kind of don't see it, it's just out there. When it gets paid out, it moves to the expense line. So we're obviously not gonna increase our budget by $2 million, assuming it's all gonna get paid out. So what we did with this 1% is just kind of say, okay, the comp being paid out has increased slightly. Not the total comp earned, but the stuff that's moving from the liability to the expense. And that's the reflection of.
And that's what I'm looking for. I am not advocating to not pay officers and not comp officers. In fact, I'm probably farther on that side of it. I am good with that. But on this side of the table now, I want to see that as it is unfolding for us for the future.
We need to have that information.
Because it is a liability on the county. It is nothing personal and nothing personal to them and or their budget. But the budget percentage of growth doesn't speak true unless we can see some metrics of that liability moving forward.
I mean, we calculate it by employee with their rate and the amount in there. So we have, down to the detail, it's again, finding that balance of, we don't want to overinflate expense, because the amount of comp payout it's grown a little bit, but again, I think it becomes in the spotlight when it moves from the liability on the balance sheet To the,
to reality.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
And only in
quarterly,
payout, because taken
Right.
is already budgeted
so
in the salaries.
quarterly reports of where we are would be extraordinarily helpful as we manage a budget. Right now, I think what we're saying is we need to know what that possible number might be.
And in my hopes and dreams, I was actually hoping for that number to be included in this number, just so that we, as a group, can actually see where that liability is tracking today. Not that we have any effect over not that we have any change to that, but it gives us a truer meaning of what this board's liability is besides the budget. Love the budget. I know you guys work hard to keep that where it is and work hard. And the services, I have to reiterate this. Every time I ask someone to cut their budget down and to line at my 4.5%, I'm saying without cutting services. I'm not looking to cut what we do for our taxpayers. I'm looking to see if there's ways of streamlining that. But on this particular budget, I was kind of missing that component because overall liability to McHenry County, that is in there.
And I think too, I'm gonna ask the question too, we don't have in our budget, we have not calculated any negotiation increases either, have we?
The ones that have been approved are in there.
Well, I know the ones that are approved, but I mean the ones that we are currently.
Unit 1 and Unit 2 are in contract till November of next year.
Okay.
So their increases should be in there. Unit 3 is in negotiations right now. Unit 3 is dispatch, our civilians, our garage, court security. That's Unit 3, so they are currently in negotiations right now.
But that's not included,
Well,
any of that is not included in.
There's
So
an
what we
assumption.
do for any union negotiation is we take the amount from the last year of the contracts. So there's going to be some increase, but we just start with that number and then can make adjustments as the contract.
And that's not a surprise to us. When we know, this board will know. Okay, well, this board will know. That's something that we all heard together.
Yeah.
The secret things in the basement, the bones in the closet that we don't see. I know it's not, I'm not seeing. That's, well, I'm sorry, bad
We're
wording.
to look in a different place.
The happy surprises.
A little harder to understand maybe, or less obvious.
Right. Right. Nobody looks at that and focuses or even understands that that is a liability on us as a county because none of us even understand the
It's a big
magnitude
liability.
of that.
It's not just the sheriff, it's everyone, it's vacation and comp. It's a big number.
So, Mr. Hartman, I think you have a comment, and then Mr. Sager.
Yeah, just to point out, so about this time last year, it was noted that this was an issue brewing. What we intended to do is make it more clear to the county board for 2026. And the quarterly financial report that Carrie has given twice already, and then we're gonna start seeing those more regularly as we close out this fiscal year, is really for that purpose, is to say, here's where we are tracking from a personnel standpoint. So you'll have an indication of whether or not we're gonna be in a similar situation at the end of this fiscal year, or if we are tracking better. There are a lot of reasons why 2025 ended the way it did, and we talked about the fact that we didn't have vacancies to absorb some of this. That's a critical factor. The fact that there's a variety of different reasons, but to the point of we don't want a surprise, right? And that's why those quarterly reports are given. And Carrie's done a great job of really spelling that out and showing where we're tracking from an overall personnel standpoint. So you're aware, and we do appreciate those efforts on Carrie and her team to prepare those. And you'll see those more frequently as we close out this fiscal year.
Great.
Just to add on that though, if there is more comp payout than we expect, it will be over budget. But I think you guys have an understanding of.
But we'll have a I mean,
we'll
as much
have
as
a
we can, we
feeling.
should have somewhat.
You know what
what's
as Carrie said,
happening
you know what the liability is on the books, and you know what people are required to, if they're over, you know what they have to go down to by collective bargaining agreements. I will say that Suzanne and I have talked about, that's going to be in these next contract negotiations. I know that is going to be at, hearing what the board has said about it, understanding about it, that is going to be a topic of conversation. And I understand that, that's spelled out in the contract. You guys just approved the most recent holiday schedule.
Yeah.
That dollar amount is $900,000 for my office alone.
Explain why.
So each officer, patrol deputy and officer, are guaranteed 8 hours of holiday pay if they work or if they don't. So those 8 hours, they get, a majority of them take that as comp. So you're talking about, there was 14 holidays, is that correct? 14? So that's 112 hours of potential comp time for every person that works for the office under Unit 1 and Unit 2. And that's how you get there, right? I mean, right away, without anything being said, I'm already at 112 by agreement, you know, and those are the challenges that as the executive of my corporation, those are things that I have to work with and work with the county board and work with, you know, through contract
Having those things
negotiations.
broke out on a budget helps us focus on those issues. They're not as far in the shadows when we can see those, especially when we can see them tracking as a fiscal year goes by.
And we know when people are earning comp as holiday, comp as overtime, comp as on-call. I mean, those things add up. And some of them, I mean, when we have major crimes, like even with this recent boat crash, that's not ours, but that costs us a lot of money because we put a lot of work into it. So I mean, the unfortunate part is, you know, and I hate to use it, there's some cost to doing business and you make assumptions, you try to do the best you possibly can. That's why when we talk about the comp payout, at the amount of comp time that we have earned, not payout, that we have earned has been very consistent. So we know what that dollar amount is every single year. You know what that liability is, pretty darn close. And it goes up by contract rate. So I mean, that isn't the issue. I think just historically, it was brought more to light, like Scott had said, for a couple reasons last year. It was kind of used as like, this is kind of to blame. It really isn't, because it's always been there. It's just, we were fully staffed, you know, and it's like, I did our job to be fully staffed, but then you kind of get penalized a little bit because, you know, some of those costs couldn't have been hit in past years.
But also, like the boat issue, if this board can track that change, even if we're a full quarter behind that change, if we can track that, it's way less of a surprise than coming to us on an annual basis.
And I think ADP, that's one of the things that we
saying.
want to talk about. That's one of the benefits of ADP. It kind of shows all that. This one, the way Cronus is, it's very cumbersome to pull it out. We've been doing a pretty good job of tracking this year, I think.
Yeah, it is very difficult.
And I think what we're asking is just quarterly, come and give us an update so that and again, depending upon what the numbers show, maybe we'll ask you to come monthly, but let's start quarterly and just give us an idea of where we are so that we know, so it's, you know, directly in front of us.
And from my perspective, I don't need to see you every quarter. I see you enough. You can send it to my inbox here so long as I can track the change, especially before we're going to do budget.
I don't know if I should say thank you or
No,
I'm sorry.
and I'm going to solely disagree with that because it's not just the board, it's the public. And that's what these meetings are for, is to show the public, so no, you're going to be here every quarter.
Absolutely correct. Yes.
Sorry about that. Mr. Hartman.
And just to say, it's, you know, I think there's comp time that's earned by other departments as well. And so when we put this together, we want to make sure that.
Oh, he's not the only one we're going to pick on, Scott.
He's just got the biggest.
But it's going to be, but that's, I think, a very fair thing. We can certainly do our best to come up with different tools and different reporting. You know, and I think the sheriff said it best, that there's only certain things that you can control with respect.
Totally, we
These
understand.
operations by their
Totally
nature are going to require this. And on the flip side, if they're not taking comp time, they're taking overtime. So it's, you know, one way or the other. So with that, message received, we certainly do better. We are so looking forward to ADP because it's going to make, I think, the reporting and tracking so much easier, but we understood.
To coattail, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut
Mr.
you.
Seibert, did you have a question? Reading that? Yeah.
First a comment. I do appreciate very, very much what you all are trying to do to control this, but I think we know full well that your hands are tied. I mean, you have negotiated contracts, right? And it really is all about the negotiations. And, you know, we kind of sometimes just skip over that context and we just look at the ultimate budget reality, but it is a negotiated position. You have 3 units?
Yes.
Is that what you have?
Yeah.
Is the trend, I mean, I trust that the trend is once the patrol officers settle their contract, then everybody else falls in line.
It's actually going in reverse because Unit 3 is the civilian. So if you remember back, we tested the accrual process with Unit 3. So they were the first persons to do it, or first group, and then patrol and corrections followed along with it. So They do play off of each other. It doesn't necessarily always start with patrol, though.
Okay. But all three of the units have the merit system, is that correct?
No.
No, it's only patrol officers?
Correct.
Okay, so the other two don't. Are they asking for that?
No.
Okay.
Corrections would want it, I'm sure, but it doesn't. It's
No,
not
so-
by legislation.
I don't even think that helps,
So-
Matt. Sorry.
Are there other areas of interest in the current negotiations that are going to impact the other negotiations?
I'm sure, yeah. I mean, like we talked about comp time, I know that's one of the topics that is brought up. Hours of work is another one, because the Unit 1 and Unit 2 have specific shift, like hours of work that's in the contract. So there's other things that could come into play. I'm sorry.
The percentage increase for merit.
Right.
In between the steps, those are all pretty consistent, and Suzanne and I and the rest of the team that's sitting there, we want the language to be the same, and we've gotten it pretty similar over the years.
Yeah.
They were different
Mm-hmm.
in how we handled things.
And where do you believe that we fall as a county relative to our fellow counties?
We're not the top
We try to stay 2 or 3.
percent.
Well, ranking wise.
ranking-wise, yeah,
As
yeah,
far
sorry.
as, we don't want to be the top paid, we don't want to be the lowest, but we want to be above middle for
We
recruiting.
want to be the safest, but not the top paid.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, and are there other
Conditions.
quote-unquote unique negotiation suggestions which are coming out from other counties?
Oh, that's interesting.
No, so they have different challenges. So Lake
Yeah.
right now is challenged with staffing.
Right.
And that's what hurt us in the last negotiations, because they increased their
offering
rates
big time.
tremendously.
Yeah, so to that point, I mean, and so it's hard because staff and people coming into the law enforcement world don't care if you're county or city. They look at pay, and we have some agencies, I know Gurney offers a bonus payment, a $50,000 bonus and all that. So we try to manage that. The reality is over the past 10 years, law enforcement has gotten ridiculously expensive because no one wants to do it. And, I think we found that nice blend that, like Matt had said, we aren't the top paid, we're really safe, we train people a lot, we take care of people, so we found that little blend. And we're kind of like in that weird little slice of heaven up here that people actually want to come here and work. So, but as far as tactics, I haven't heard, it's all about the money, really.
Right.
Money benefits.
The purpose of my questions is to, I guess, communicate to all of us that it is a very complex situation. And we do have contract negotiations. And when we have negotiations, we need to be aware of what these are, and not just, the contract comes before us, and therefore we approve it. But I think we need to be aware of what the impact of these negotiations across the board actually are. And it is a situation which I think you all have done an exceptional job of, as you say, blending what is necessary to maintain and to attract a solid, exceptional workforce. Because we all know that there are those entities which are out there and they just pay for the training, right? They pay for the state program, and then after the 2 years or whatever it happens to be, whatever their contract is, they go someplace else, right? We don't want to be in that position, and you all have done a great job of keeping us out of that position, and so I'm very, very grateful. But as I think Matt has pointed out, it's very difficult when we get to the end of the year, and it appears, and I think that's the point that we have to understand, it appears that, okay, we've been caught in a bind here and we're expending more money, and the average person out there thinks, well, how does that happen? Isn't it managed? Well, it's all contractual, and people don't understand that. And so it's one of those things that if we are kept abreast of that on a routine basis, that's going to help us, I think, to better understand on one hand, but also to communicate. Again, I can't commend you all enough. I just think you've done an exceptional job. This last year, I think, was more of an exception than a rule, if you will, and I think that we just need to understand that that's the case. Okay, bottom line, the question I'm gonna put on the table is, how do we do a better job of managing the budget situation, right? The liability is there, right? And we know the liability is there. So how do we do a better job of kind of managing what that actual budget is on behalf, not just giving us quarterly reports, but when it comes to the budgeting time, telling us as a board what the figures are in terms of a liability and how that interjects a degree of uncertainty in the final outcome.
So one of the things that we did, thank you for that question. That was a softball for me because that was my next point that I wanted to go to. We restructured our business office. We brought in a payroll analyst and what's Timmy's title?
Financial analyst.
Financial analyst. So we know how much people are making and cost of doing business as it relates to personnel, and someone that knows cost as it relates to the other stuff, the contractuals and all the bills. Having a payroll analyst will be able to provide you that data, like with ADP and fingers crossed, but be able to provide that data and see those outliers when someone's like, hey, you've earned more comp than you normally have. And then we bring that back to our chiefs, and our chiefs will look at what that process looks like. I will say that we are bringing in a third-party individual who is going to look at staffing in the jail. To your point, I don't accept that we have to be driven 100% by the collective bargaining agreement. I was elected to manage the office. I don't think the CBAs can tell me how to manage the office, and if we can find better ways to do that, we're going to do that. And I think that's another way that we think that we can, one of two things are going to happen. They're going to say you guys are operating at 100%, or you're going to say here's some areas of opportunity, and our staff is committed to looking at those areas of opportunity. So that's another way that I think we can better manage taxpayer dollars, be a little bit more efficient, and maybe alleviate some of these issues issues isn't the right word, some of this historical numbers that we have had, how we can maybe bend the curve a little bit on it.
I think that's going to be a huge, huge assistance in this. And I think that's really, truly important. I think, the challenge is that you just never know. You don't know who is going to, quote unquote, claim their comp time at any given.
That's exactly right.
And so it's just one of those things where that is a liability which accrues, and we're going to have to deal with it whenever it comes up. But as long as we know that it's properly managed, and we can communicate that to constituents, and we understand that if and when it does exceed expectation, that we can properly explain that to constituents. So I know I'm talking too much, but there's just, I think, a need to have it clear for all of us so that we don't come to the end and everybody just says, oh my gosh, there's $4 million there. Oh, somebody did something wrong, right? We don't want to do that.
The message has been conveyed in numerous venues. I think it's clear. I'm looking at administration, Rob, you and I mean, Sandra, we can move on, I think.
Okay. All right, so quickly go through some of to finish off on the expenditures. The contractuals, we are in the midst of a food contract, so for the jail. So those numbers, I think for the budget, we put in a 3% increase because that's what we believed it to be. But depending on how those contracts come back, there may be a little bit of a variance. I want to be transparent about that. So I don't know what that looks like because we haven't gotten that back yet. Outside of that, I think that's all I have for the expenditures.
What about Lake County?
What about Lake County?
Yeah, so the revenues, you're talking about the contract with Lake County. So we're in current negotiations with Lake County on 2 more years. We have gone back and looked what our numbers are. We are asking for an increase in how much they pay for an officer, for an inmate. Right now it's $100. I think we're planning on going up to $107. There is also talks So that's for up to 150 inmates. There are talks of increasing that 150 to 200, and any inmate that we take after 150 would go up to
110, but all of them would go up to 110. So there's still some negotiations on how that would work, but anytime we have a nightly number over 150, the total per inmate would be 110.
For the collective gross.
Are you sure it's all of them and not just the
Yes.
150 to 200? Okay.
Yep, that was very specific because our healthcare has a little bit of a range. Our food, that's an extra 3 meals per inmate per day, so.
You can't make it up with $3 on that one man that goes over.
Correct, it's on all of them, and the language is it's very clear in there on that. Now, we would prefer it just to be either over or under, and not have to do that on a daily basis, but.
And ultimately, this is a source of revenue for the county, correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
To the general fund, not the sheriff's fund. There is no sheriff's fund, just so everyone knows. I hear that sometimes, that was a little joke, it's like, take it out of the sheriff's fund. Okay. Scott?
If I may, are you able to absorb that additional 50 under your current staffing level?
Correct. And that's gonna be also included in the staffing study, is taking into account if we were to take the additional inmates.
What, I mean, on a practical sense in the jail, it means doubling up some people when they're not normally doubled up.
Termination clause?
So the termination clause is 60 days, which.
On either side.
Little background is Lake County is back to their jail's full, with not including our 150. So, and they're still having some struggles in hiring. They when we first started this process, it was around 70. I think they're down to 50, and that was 3 years ago. That, you know, they're just in a difficult position. So we're committed to helping them out.
So they're up to full. Is that full based on bed capacity?
ADP, yeah.
Okay.
Average daily population is ADP.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. Just very briefly, I want to go back to the negotiations. Is there something, when you negotiate the contract, the union contracts, is there, do you have a clause in there with how long they can keep the?
Yes,
Yeah.
the comp time?
Yeah.
So there's a max,
Yeah.
they cannot carry over 180.
But not long. Not length of time, though.
Not length of time, but the amount that they
The
can
amount
carry?
throughout the year, and then at the end of the year, and this is where it gets a little challenging, is they have to cash out 120 for union and then 80 for non-union, third week of November, which is right at the end of the year. So
that's why
someone
we
was
saw
like,
that
bam,
hit.
That's why
we're
it's
gonna
always in
cash
that
it
time.
out, and that's, yeah. So we know what the max liability would be because they can only earn up to a certain amount throughout the year.
Okay.
So it is managed, we just don't know.
When they're gonna.
That time doesn't expire,
Right.
right? So if I earn a comp hour right now, I can carry it over for 10 years, and of course, every year it's gonna
Increase
cost
because
more.
of rate increases.
Well, that's the
But that
benefit of
liability
it.
number is known.
Right.
Yeah.
Liability number is known.
And we just need to have that so that we're,
We just segued back into where we were going.
I do appreciate you saying, though, that it's been pretty consistent, though, Sheriff, over the years.
We look
So-
back a long time, and that was one of the, so truth be told, when I first caught word that we were whatever over back last year, I looked at Sandy and said, that's not right, that's not possible. And then I went to Sacco and I started looking back at like what we earned, because I'm like, we blew it out, what are we doing? And the number came back and that number has been very consistent for a very long, probably my whole career.
but again, you never know, it's earned, but it could be 10 years before they cash it out, right? Again, just need
portion of
to.
it.
Yeah,
Right, they can't, yes.
Right. Just, we need to be much more aware of that liability number and what that's going to do at the end of the year. That's
And
all.
again, I'll reiterate, we
End of
hear
story.
what you guys are saying, so I think when it comes to contract negotiations, that will be a topic. And it's not gonna be a surprise, I've talked with all the units about budget, and how, you know, we keep getting better and better and better. I mean, there's a breaking point, but we are everyone's on board that we're trying to, you know, do the best we possibly can with that, conclude that.
Thank you. Mr. Shorten.
I want to go back to Lake County. Their beds are full and they're looking at increasing Is it just crime rate, population? I mean,
You'd have to ask the Lake County Sheriff's Office. I can't answer that problem.
I'm just curious.
We're on the budget, guys. We gotta
Yeah, stay on the budget.
All right, so is it
let's go.
personnel? We are 2.5 below last year on FTEs. There's still some opportunities that we can have this year, maybe to go down throughout the year as well. So we're not asking for any more people. And I think that's that for that aspect. Revenue, I think we talked about revenue with Lake County, DHS, our two major revenue bases. And those numbers that you're seeing in the governmental, actually upon the contract, those numbers will go up because the numbers that we have right now reflects the current contract with Lake County Sheriff's Office. Did I miss anything in that one?
No. Can I jump back to expenses really quick?
Nope, already moved on.
It's a tough one to work. Just wanted to point out, so this whole budget, when we're managing the budget, and I purposely brought this big binder, because we actually are managing individual budgets for 11 divisions, and that goes over 4 different funds. So the sheriff set it up where each individual who supervises or oversees those divisions, they're kind of like their own CEO of that division. So everyone turns in budgets to me, and when they do, they have to have backup. They have invoices and quotes for what next year is gonna bring for memberships, for training, for contracts, what the increases are. So we literally, in our 324 budget line items, go through and justify. Obviously, that changes, and throughout the year, we try to get better quotes. We try to manage those, trainings and those funds a little bit more, and we do pretty well in coming underneath, but there's a lot that we do on a daily basis for those expenses and to keep them down. So wanted you guys to know that every line is looked at. Anytime someone spends over $50 or wants to, they do a purchase request and it comes through me. I look in my binder to see if they planned on that, and if they didn't, where they're gonna reduce it. So it starts with him. He's very detailed, and it comes all the way down to almost the penny.
The philosophy that I've tried to instill in the chiefs is that, I look at them as franchise. My job is to provide vision and mission in the office, kind of get a good idea what we want to do, and allow them to operate their specific divisions as they see fit for those divisions and bring it back to us, because they're all different. And things change a lot, like Sandy had said. So they have gotten better and better every single time. Colleen can probably speak to, this is her first time going through the process and really understanding it. So we really challenged our staff, to, I don't want to say to be better, but to be good, stewards of, of finance.
And I would say, I think we all know that, but we now have really large decisions to make with
Sure.
regard to money. And obviously, we have to do our due diligence as well, so.
100%.
Yeah.
That's why we do what we do, so we can
Yep.
answer all the questions.
Right, as Matt said earlier, we're not questioning, we just need to be able to know that we're doing our job on this side of the table, so we appreciate that.
As far as the rest of our budget, you'll see our FTEs, our org chart, that's all stuff. I mean, we're really here to talk about budget. The DUI conviction funds, that's money that we get from the DUIs that we do. There's some other revenues that are in here that we talk about, fines and forfeitures. I know that we've done a really good job of what we call the STEP grant. Those are grants from the Illinois Department of Transportation on enforcing traffic, basically. And we've increased the amount of money that we've gotten in to offset our costs. So we really have done a great job with that. Inmate Welfare Fund, if y'all didn't know, they changed the rules on us on how much money we can receive from phone calls. So that used to be anywhere from a $20,000 source of revenue a month. I think that's gone down to like $5,000. So, we were able to pay for a lot of things like the floor. We do a lot of projects with jail inmate welfare, which it's hard to explain. People are saying you're just making money off of inmates when they do stuff. The money doesn't go to my pocket and I don't get cool stuff. It goes back to the jail to provide them with a better space, a cleaner space, better food, better options, better phone calls. We have tablets, like all those things that make our place better than anywhere else. It comes from the revenue fund that we go above and beyond to be able to provide the inmates, with better health care and all those things that we do to make their stay, because part of our process, we're not a penal institution, we're a correctional facility. Most people that are in our custody are with us, only a couple months. Our job is to get them on a spot. So when they go out, they never come back, and put them in a better spot. That costs money, and we've adopted that philosophy, but it does cost money, and now we're gonna be challenged because, you know, this has definitely changed on us.
It'd be real, I'm sorry, Sandy, it'd be really interesting too if you have, I'd really be interested in how much more your budget has increased with regard to the unfunded mandates that have been placed upon it. You know, that technically that might be extra money for all of us to use in a way that we would have chosen, not to say we wouldn't have done body cams, but
Sure.
it'd be real interesting, and exactly as you just said now, of all the other reductions that have been imposed upon the county from the state and what that's done to the overall available monies that we have for these services.
Yeah, we've talked about, I mean, transports is one right now. We've gone to a no cash bail. When someone misses court and now they miss court, they get the summons, they get a nice piece of paper and they miss that. They may get another second summons, but then they get a failure to appear warrant. And depending on, you know, sometimes how those are issued, those could be nationwide. We've gone to Hawaii to pick up people on an FTA, and that once they come back, then they're released again because of the way the system has been set up. I mean, it's challenging, and Randy can talk about it, you know, how much challenge that her staff has.
And we pick up that tab.
And we now are subsidizing, you know, individuals that are awaiting trial. For lack of better terms, the taxpayers are now subsidizing it. So, and there's a cost to it, 100%.
We don't really have funded mandates. There's not many mandates I could say are actually.
I understand that, and I just use that, but it would be for all of us again who go out and talk about budget and reduction in services or whatever it might end up being. It would be nice to have a figure that says, and by the by, this is how much our expenses have increased totally outside of our hands, right?
Yeah. So one of them is our camera project. It's really IT's camera project that's in the capital plan, but it's for the sheriff's office, for corrections, and we're mandated to have cameras in the jail, so.
And we've talked about that, and so I'll throw that out. I'd be real curious. I know at one time, the county did many of those projects via expenditures over several years. You know, we got the improvement, but we paid for it. I just wonder if we've done an evaluation on the cameras in the jails and we don't have to talk about it now, just throwing it out there.
Just really quick.
Yeah.
We don't want cameras on two separate systems, so we definitely want to do it all at once and not stack. If it was replacing, it might be.
No, and I'm not saying that, Sandra. I'm saying we, in the past, when we flipped and we did the Hewlett-Packard computers, we did it all at one time. But we paid for it, part of our contract is we paid for it over the subsequent 5 years or whatever it was. I'm wondering if that can't be, under the circumstances, if that isn't something we should look at or see if it's even possible today. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would never do it in phases. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Sorry, thank you.
All right, I will I just really close out and say that, you know, this is not an expansion budget. I know the numbers look like they go up, but we've reduced 2 positions. We haven't added new programs. We continue to do what we're doing right now. We have truly taken in consideration, you know, what we heard last year and what we feel the direction of the board is, which, you know, we're trying to do the best we possibly can. The personnel cost is now really a true cost of, you know, as close as we possibly can get, as opposed to, you know, not, you know, some hidden. Some I don't want to call them unknowns, but some things that by policy that we haven't seen before. And we're still going to keep working on it. I think the staffing study will be interesting in the jail to see how that works. And we're consistently, probably to a fault, my chiefs will tell you, I walk out, you can ask them a question, I challenge them every day.
And again, I think our issue here, honestly, is everybody is presenting basically a maintenance budget, what I would call a maintenance budget. The problem is that our new growth and our ability to include a CPI is not going to keep up with the cost of your maintenance budget.
Sure.
And so that's really going to be the challenge here. And so it's appreciated that you recognize that and you're doing the best that you possibly can. But ultimately, it's going to get down to where we look at it and we're going to say, what happens if we reduce services? As much as we don't want to, what happens? What happens if I say you get 10% less? I would never say that, but what do I lose?
Well, I mean, so it's an interesting dynamic, right?
It is. And not asking you to necessarily answer that right now.
You know, and, well, no, but I will. I mean, the reality is you lose programs that we've been committed to. Lake County, you lose that program. Because then, then I have to go back and figure out, I'm gonna reduce healthcare costs, I'm gonna reduce food costs. DHS, another program. You'll talk about it later, or I think there's another item, your police social work program. And those are gonna be interesting conversations to have with people out in the community saying that, those are tough conversations. My job is to present to you guys a budget of what it costs to do what we're doing. And I don't envy the position that you all are in to say, here's the checkbook that you have to, here's the dollar amounts that you're gonna do it with. Which would lead me to, I don't wanna turn that into a fight and say, because of this, I have to cut this, right? But I'm a realist too, and I understand that there's a possibility of that happening. But my oath is to keep our community safe. So I'm going to cut everything that doesn't allow that to happen. But those are programs that the county's benefiting from as well. So, that's I'm always up for a good challenge. I just, I don't think that, the things that we're doing and the goals that I know the county as a whole, not just the board, but everyone that lives in this county, our commitment is to be collaborative and help everyone else out, right? I look at, Lake County, we're helping out Lake County with that jail contract. DHS helps out the entire state. Our police social work program helps out every community. And I know you see us as the sheriff's office, but it helps every law enforcement community that you guys serve. And these are all things that, we are looking at. Our job isn't just sheriff's office specific. We serve an entire community. Regional training center, there's a dollar amount, and Colleen will talk about that. But there's a dollar amount that goes with that. But the reality is if you lose that, you now go to fractured services and Safety Act and training. Now we're sending people all over the place again. Consistency of service. It's all the things that are expected, but they don't know how that sausage is made in the background. And it's hard to do. And, to give a dollar amount, that's really, really difficult. And I think, Dan was talking about, how much it costs to run, for the court system to run. I think of it as, as it relates to the police social work program. If we save one person, what does that dollar amount look like? Because there really isn't. I know it's a rhetorical question because y'all don't have a dollar amount for it. And I think for me, the messaging when I talk with the community is if the courts through specialty court, they save one person and now they're productive, I don't know what the dollar amount looks like because there isn't one. That's the human strings that you can start pulling. That's why we do the stuff we do in the jail, all the programs that we run, the GED programs, the Malachi dads, all the programs that we run, the individuals that are currently with us in a better spot so when they leave, so they don't come back, guess what? Then they can become a taxpayer, then they become part of the community, then all the good things come. So I'll get off my soapbox now. Sorry.
Mr. Kunkel.
So, I recognize the personality, but you do bow up when this is nothing personal. Your department, your program, everybody loves it, on the street and in here. But you get into be a unique position when you are responsible for the taxpayer and we put the blinders on and we strictly look at numbers. That's what we have to do. There is no question you're needed, you're wanted, and you are appreciated. But now we have to, as a collective group, make the numbers work. And the hard thing of that is some other departments that we like very much, but maybe could give up, have to give up so other departments can keep going and provide those services. Nothing personal to any of you guys. Really appreciate you. Thank you for the numbers.
And we understand, again, this committee, that what we do is we budget dollars to the sheriff's department, and ultimately the decision on how the sheriff spends that money is within his purview as a constitutional officer.
Thank God.
So just again, reminding everybody that that's the way the process works.
Did anyone have any questions about our camera project? Because I had IT come Because when they presented,
We're
there was
just
a
on
ton of
budget right
questions.
now. We're just on budget.
Just the one,
Okay.
just the one that I
Okay.
did is to see how,
Okay.
if there's a way to pay for that over a
Thank
longer period of time to budget for that
Okay.
as opposed to, but certainly not do it in phases. I'm not in any way suggesting that that be done incrementally. It's gotta be done. So, thank you. Do you wanna go on to then the training? Oh, okay, see you. Training center. That's what
Training
happens
center.
when we all talk too much.
All right, so I'll tee it up for Colleen, she can talk a little bit more about it, but the reality is, I think that the entire budget of the Regional Training Center is about $355,000. Apportion it, so how we allocate what the costs are that the founding five, our department, Algonquin, Cary, Lake in the Hills, McHenry, we split up the costs of the entire facility by officer, by personnel. So percentage-wise, everyone's paying their fair share. And then from that, there are, we call them members, members, right? So then there's members, so those are all the other law enforcement agencies that are buying into the program and pay for those services. What makes this a little unique is, and Colleen has to juggle it, is there is a regional training center board, and then I have to come and talk to the county board about funding, so how the costs kind of work. The costs from the regional training center went up $1,000 from last year. In a day and age where everything went up a ton, we got a lot better in what we're doing through contracts, through shared personnel, through reduction of a janitor to hire a contract service for janitorial work, and just all the other things. So when you think about last year was $354,000, it went up to $355,000. That is a lot to do with the work that Colleen has done and put into it, and the reason why we brought her on, to kind of manage what's going on. So I can let Colleen talk more about what the
Can I ask a question too? How much of that 355 is actually out of the county budget?
199, I think, or 191,000.
Thank you.
Is our responsibility.
But like when you do the numbers all together, it's not like $1,000 gonna more for you. 'Cause
No,
it has to be-
understood,
okay.
understood. Thank you though.
So the budget, I made sure, I went through the budget from last year, and then I went through the budget this year. And the couple surprises that came up in this year are in the budget for this year, so that's where that $1,000 just becomes a little bit more. But I have everything budgeted out from like the range to all the surprises that we got to, oh, and also our membership fees are going up, $50 per each member.
Not our fees, but what we're charging
Yes.
members to
Yeah,
come in.
to
So there's an increase in revenue that we're gonna see
Yes.
from that as well.
But I mean, this should be way more accurate than it was last year, because I sat there and looked at what was missing from last year to this year.
Perfect.
And I even went through contracts, like she said, for 3 years and everything, that there's not gonna be surprises in the following year.
Again, the stuff that really, and yell at me if I'm misrepresenting, I think the stuff that's really important to us is if we didn't have this, if this was not something we were doing, how much would we be spending on sending our officers someplace else? And I understand the other value of uniformity and working with our partners and our
Sure.
municipalities, so there's consistency in how we respond. But I think that really it would be nice to have that
And
information
that's hard to say
about how.
because, ILETSB sens out all the training. NEMERT is the training arm that we abide to out here. So where we can host classes for a week and get our entire staff through, we get 2 officers here and there on specific dates that we can't dictate. So that means hire backs, that means whatever, and all the mandates that are required for us to continue training. I don't know the dollar amount because I don't know what the schedules look like, and it's weird, and we've been doing this since the mandate came through. So all we know is we have 2 weeks of scheduling, guys work in that 2-week period, they make sure they do it while they're on shift, while they're working, so they're not getting hired back, or any of that, we're not paying overtime for training, whereas,
But you can kind of figure what that is, even if you only list what it is that we're no longer incurring
Sure.
expenses for. It would be nice to have.
And we have, in our special services, which is our training division within the sheriff's office, we reduced our training by 20,000. And if we didn't have this, we probably would have increased because we would have been paying more for other classes.
Right.
So, I mean, I would roughly say at least $35,000 are being saved. So now we're starting to see where in our general fund budget, we're seeing some of the decreases.
And that's just in training costs, that's
Just
not in
in training
personnel.
costs.
See, again, that's what I'm saying. It would be, even if it is kind of a guesstimate,
Sure.
this is 35,000 here, no travel expenses, no, and then again, the intangible, which is they're here,
Right.
right? They're not,
Correct.
yeah, okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Kunkel.
No, it's fine. This is a new facility too. We expect some fluctuation. We know there's no way of tracking when there's no history.
Right.
Yeah.
Kudos, you did a great job. If these numbers hold, that's gonna be phenomenal. But this overall for the county of McHenry is a net gain, whether it's from our municipal partners or for the sheriff's department. This is a net gain. I remember leaving multiple towns away for training and staying overnight in a hotel on the department's dime and all that. This is a net gain for us. There's no qualms here. And the numbers, surprisingly, even for a new facility, are tracking.
Nicely, yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
So I'm good.
Hey, you know what? We really gave you a pass.
Just this year, next year.
Colleen's doing my budget next year. She's doing the entire budget next year.
Next year's gonna be hell, so.
Any questions from anybody, either with the sheriff's budget and or the training facility itself?
Is there a merit commission on there as well that we want to
Merit Commission is next, yes.
Okay.
So you wanna stay right there?
You want me to just run with it?
So can I just give a quick over? So Merit Commission is a somewhat unique department because it kind of straddles sheriff and HR. HR really, I think, controls the actual budget. So I wanted the sheriff to talk about a few of the changes that they're gonna be making as far as testing and that. And then just kind of, I guess, give a little caveat. This is its own department. And so we try to do our best guess of what we think some of those changes will be without over budgeting. But, you know, if this one runs out of budget, then I'll be back in front of you for a resolution. But I just wanted you to hear about what we're.
So merit commission, I believe, is a $40,000 budget. The sheriff's office uses the majority of this budget for promotional of sergeants and lieutenants on patrol, merited positions. We hire a company to come in and do the written test and then the online or the in-person assessment. This year, we did not do it. We did not have a need. We had an active list and we were able to not, conduct that test. Next year, we will have to do it. We've exhausted that list to a point where we're gonna have to start that over. Historically, 2 years is usually the max that we keep that list. So next year, I assume, or I project us to do a promotional exam. And what Carrie had talked about, we have changed through the Merit Commission and rules, we have changed our hiring process. Historically, in patrol, we tested in March. It was one test a year. We would bring a bunch of people in. We'd have 100 people show up, so we had to bring a bunch of people in to proctor the exam. We did that all ourselves. Now we're doing an open enrollment. So we're always having individuals apply. We will then, we haven't quite figured out how we're gonna do it yet, but we will announce a test date when we have a certain individuals in hand. Those that are already working will be able to proctor it right here. So there's no overtime costs or any costs that used to go to the Merit Commission for reimbursement. Those now are all gonna be encumbered by the sheriff's office. So, I mean, we're not gonna be asking for more money in the sheriff's office. We're gonna be doing with the personnel that are currently working, but we'll be able to reduce a little bit of the overtime costs that go to the Merit Commission for that process.
And that comes out of general fund, the Merit Commission? Yeah, okay.
It's its own department within the general.
Any questions? Get out of here.
All right.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, everyone.
And then what we have left is the state's attorney's supplemental. You guys want to come on?
Consensus.
Oh, is there consensus to move the sheriff's?
Yes.
Consensus. I'll put a caveat on that too, with the recommendation that again, we have quarterly updates on where we are with compensation, liability, and the fact that we're gonna investigate the camera payment possibility. I want that information, so I'm gonna throw that in the budget stuff. Did I miss anything? Any other comments that we made? Okay,
Okay, good
Nice to
morning.
have you here,
Good
Ms.
morning.
State's Attorney. Really lovely to see you this morning, almost afternoon. Laura, do you want to go ahead, or is Randy going to?
Oh, we're just here. Obviously, we were here a couple weeks ago. The big ask for everyone is a new attorney for our civil division. We talked about it a little bit at the last meeting. We then provided Mr. Hartman with a copy of an email that just answered a lot of questions that came up and provided a little bit more information about the need for this new attorney in our civil division. And then we are back here available and willing to answer the questions that you may have.
I don't know, does anybody have anything specific? I was looking for, again, similar to the sheriff's question, is how much money am I saving versus how much money am I expending? Because again, as Matt has stated so eloquently, and I over and over again, it's hard to justify new expenditures when we're actually looking at reducing. So tell me better on what I'm getting for $150,000, because that's basically what it almost comes to, right? To put on a new person, what am I saving?
You are saving hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal defense costs. And I can say that having been in private practice representing municipalities throughout the state of Illinois. So I know exactly what it costs to litigate these types of cases because I was the one that was billing municipal clients and county clients. So one case, a civil rights 1983 case in federal court, particularly a wrongful conviction case, that can cost, just in defense costs, $500,000. We have one such case right now. I can tell you that our 1983 cases in the federal court, those cases tend to have more legs. And what I mean by that is, you know, typically one attorney can be working on, let's say, 12 to 20 civil rights cases in federal court versus possibly, I don't know, 30 personal injury cases that are litigated in state court. The beauty of working for this in the state's attorney's office is we have a combination of both. We have several federal civil rights cases that are currently pending either in the Western District of Illinois, that's in Rockford, and believe it or not, we do have a couple of cases that are pending in the Eastern District in Chicago. Our state cases, of course, they are litigated here in McHenry County Circuit Court. So yeah, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Mr. Coe?
So my thing is, push come to shove, can you maintain the outstanding service you've been doing for McHenry County without this position?
We don't believe so. So I don't come, you weren't here last time. I don't take this is a long time coming. I think Laura brought this to me last year, is that we're kind of brimming, bubbling. And as the county board knows, there was a lot of active litigation on some matters, and we kept just saying, let's hold it. Let's see what happens with some of those. Some of those have resolved and we're moving forward, but unfortunately, more lawsuits have come in. Honestly, I mean, I think Laura would have liked that I came in June out of budget season and asked for this. And I just kept saying, no, we can't do that. The county board isn't going to go for that. We have to hold tight. All of our supervisors, all of our managers are now taking on increased caseloads, more so than we've ever done in the past. And I can say that because I've been in this office as an intern in 2008, so I don't know that I could attest to it then, but since 2010, working 7 days a week, like that is what we're doing. And to maintain that and then expect some of our non-supervisors to be doing that for the foreseeable future, we cannot. We cannot.
And I think we lose not just efficiencies, but we lose the product, right? Quality of product gets less because we're just trying to do everything in a little bit of time. Are we seeing a trend of people filing more court cases? Is that something that we're seeing across the board all of a sudden?
We are seeing, there is an increase in litigation, it seems like. I can tell you that just within the last 3 months, maybe 4 months, we've gotten 4 lawsuits I mean, and we can never predict when they come in, you know, and the issue is, and I think we alluded to this last month, is when we're maintaining our representation of these lawsuits, right? We're not settling these lawsuits like perhaps was done, you know, under past administrations. And it's a wonderful strategy. We completely support that strategy because we do believe that we are saving the county money by litigating these cases. Yes, go ahead.
When you're finished.
Yeah, I got it. Go ahead.
Okay, my point is, by having that strategy, we're not settling these cases, so the cases, they stay in our office, right, until they are either resolved on a motion for summary judgment or some other dispositive motion or through trial. But then at the same time, we're getting new cases, right? So it seems like we're having more to litigate only because of the older cases, they're staying within our office. And so that creates an increase in the amount of work that our office has in the civil division.
And how much typically were we paying for the special attorney if we had to go outside and hire somebody from outside? What does that hourly rate look like?
Well, I can tell you that, and we know this for a fact, when we were talking about a lawsuit, we were quoted over $680 an hour.
That's what I was looking for. Mr. Hartman.
So it's important to note that their workload is dependent on the cases that come in. And over the years, we've had a high volume of cases and sometimes we've had low volume of cases. I can tell you as risk management and being on the back end of it, we're in a high period. Cases will resolve, but new cases will come in. So we never know what the future's going to hold, but their workload right now is dependent on the cases that they have before them. And a case takes a good 3+ years to resolve, if not longer. We have some that go longer. And that's all for the context. It's important for you to know and keep in mind, so that ebbs and flows. The cost to the county is limited to our insurance policies. We have what's called a self-insured retention of $250,000, which means if we get a lawsuit, the first $250,000 of the case we own. Generally speaking, I mean, there's a lot of variables, but generally speaking, a 1983 civil rights claim, $250,000, we're going to write the check if it doesn't go our way. If that has to be offloaded to outside counsel because their capacity is not in-house, we're still going to be paying out of the SIR that attorney fees up to $250,000. And let's say whatever they are, and then there's a judgment or a settlement thereafter, we're still capped at $250,000. Here's really where the calculus comes into play. We have a limit. We know it's going to be $250K if things don't go our way. We've enjoyed, and I'm going to use the term enjoyed, with our defense team, the ability that we've had hours upon hours, hundreds of hours of litigation, defense strategy that cost us nothing and ultimately ended with settlements but dismissals, MTDs. And that means that aside from the salaries that we're paying, the county did not have to write a check for any judgment, settlement, or outside counsel. So that's really where it comes down to, is taking the risk of, are we going to have a case that's going to exceed their capacity that we're going to just have to pay, even if we prevail, but we have to pay those outside attorney fees, which could exceed $100,000, $200,000, the cost of litigation. Or do you just take the chance and say, you know what, we're going to roll the dice, and if caseloads drop and they don't need an attorney, we're going to be saving. I think it's important to note that we do have that limit, and that's really where your decision comes into play. If we have to write a check for outside counsel, or if we have to write a check for settlement, a case could still cost us $250,000. And I think you just need to know that. And I'll tell you, success after success of our defense team has proven itself.
So your recommendation would be for us to consider this, or at least bring the consideration to the full board to have that conversation?
That's going to be my recommendation, yes.
Open for discussion and or questions. I would tell you, I absolutely think it's a valid ask, but I probably would like a little bit more specific information as opposed to opining it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. if we could get again a comparison of caseload increases, you know, how long do those cases stay within the state's attorney's office? How much, I mean, all of that information, again, you heard me, I don't want this to be a project, I don't. But if there is available information that you could put down to provide to us that we could use as a metric or as data to make the decision, I think that that would help us. I mean, obviously, I think, you know, as we discuss budget, they're gonna look to this committee whether we're supporting or not supporting, so the more data that we had available, if this is where we want to go, that would be better. So again, Mr. Shorten, I'm going to do first, Mr. Kunkel. Mr. Hartman, I'm going to ask you to hold that, so Mr. Shorten.
Just wanted the data point, and this goes back in the Wayback Machine, probably your predecessor. My recollection is that pre-State's Attorney Bianchi, there was a lot of outsourcing of civil defense. So the dollars back then might not make sense, but in terms of looking at numbers and hours that were billed and equate that into modern day costs,
sure,
would be helpful.
I mean, I have to be careful with, you know, because we're in a public meeting and I just, so.
Provide it just so we have it prior to moving to full consideration at the county board level.
Okay.
That would be helpful. We'll share it with everyone, but if you could share it with the committee members first, and I'll just ask you to work through Scott and Kathy to do that. That would be helpful. And then again, if we need to have more conversation, we can do that. Mr. Short.
Part of my recollection in that is that the change from outsourcing to bringing inside was part of that overall change in the cost curve for the county that was extended to where we're at today.
Good point. Mr. Kunkel?
I can say, even with, because we're not only involved in litigation, we're also involved in helping the sheriff's office and any of our department heads who are involved in contract negotiations. So I can tell you that that is very costly, and I'm going to give this the credit to Suzanne and Lisa from my office, but just the outsourcing for contract negotiation for from 2014 to 2018 was in excess of $400,000 just to negotiate those contracts.
And we bring that up because we're presented with the very real question of if this is not approved and we don't get another person who can work in civil litigation on our behalf, we're gonna have to do a little bit of restructuring within our civil division. And one of the things that's come up, one of the things that I think we would have to explore is allowing those outside labor negotiations or the labor negotiations to go back outside like it was done before 2016. So we got those numbers, thank you to Suzanne and Lisa in our office, and we paid in excess of $300,000 to do that.
That's the information I want,
Okay.
right? That this is, if we don't do this, this is the result of that consequence.
Happy to.
That's what I want.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Kunkel, please.
But even more simplified, the insurance, the $250, doesn't make this an emergency position for the county. We're not an emergency because we have that. But if you break it down into common sense, if we hire this individual for this civil property, every time they get a dismissal, we are truly at a zero. We paid nothing. But if we don't hire outside, and we hire outside counsel, and we lose this position, the county still not, and we gain that dismissal the same way. I'm getting all time. If we still get a dismissal either way, a dismissal from someone on staff is a zero-sum cost to us. A dismissal from an outside attorney, we are still paying that outside attorney. It doesn't take long, and that's getting all dismissals, which we know we won't, but it doesn't take long on dismissals till we've paid this $150 fee on outside attorneys. Not long at all. So to me, this is an actual benefit. My question from the beginning was simply, can we hold on, hold our breath, maintain one more year the way we're doing? And from what you're saying, no, this is probably 6 months to a year behind us.
Yeah.
So I think it's a righteous ask, and I think overall, my constituents won't believe it, but overall, this is a money savings to the county especially if we get these down to smaller and smaller dismissal amounts, my opinion.
And I would say maybe you won't look for someone until the budget is approved. And so it might not be a full year of the 150, it might only be 10 months or whatever. Mr. Hartman.
And I thank you, Member Carmen, for hitting that point, and that's exactly what I was trying to make. You made it so eloquently, succinctly. To the point of my recommendation, I want to caveat that with, we still have to see how the budget rolls up, right? We have a lot of work to do. I think the ask is reasonable and working directly with the civil division. I like the term righteous. I know the work that they put in, and I can attest to that. But once again, I still need to see the budget rolled up.
Understood.
And with that, so inclined to bring that recommendation forward. With that caveat, we'll see how the numbers come.
And based on some substantial data that you'll provide us with regard to that consequences.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think really, I got some ideas of how to present that too. I mean, it really comes down to still to workload and how,
Data,
you know, there's only so many hours in a day, and how many hours you put other people.
Right.
So
We
ask
can
for
do that.
supplementals.
We'll be in communication, Scott.
All right, Mr. Shorten, did you have something, or was that concurrence to move forward with?
I just want to say, I
I'm sorry,
believe it's
Tom.
a ballot ask also. I support that, and I think if we do this up front and keep as much as we can in-house, it's a savings, we know that. And thank you for holding back. You said, Randy, that you needed this 6 months ago, so we do appreciate that it didn't come outside of the budget, so thank you very much.
And we really do appreciate that. Okay, so we have concurrence to move that forward. There is no old business, there are no reports, there is no executive session. I said noon. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Kunkel, seconded by Mr. Shorten. All those in favor? Aye, I did. I was.
You get great.